Hello, hello. Hi, everybody. It is Friday. We're starting on time, which means early, which means earlier than early. And we're going to just try to blitz through the to-do list today, which I think is going to be a challenge. I originally said I wanted to have this out for playtesters today, and we've made a lot of progress, but just if I highlight the amount of stuff I wanted done, it's like this is multiple pages all the way down to here. So like, look at all this. Without even knowing what these work items are, does it seem reasonable we'll get it done today? Probably not. Hey, Boomer. Hey, Iron Crusader. Good morning to you both. So yeah, let's just get to work on this stuff. I was working on something yesterday, which was this. I'm going to continue this. This is to make sure that on the playtest build, that building things in the wrong order still works. So I've got to go do that. Hang on one sec. Abby. Abby. She's like meowing out there. Abby, come on over. Come on. She just like looked at me and then walked away. I think she's trying to find my wife. Okay, so in the town we have the debug things here. Right here, create fishing pond. So this is debug. I think what we need to do is make like is debug or playtest. We could just make a condition that says is debug or is playtest. That's essentially what we'd be doing in here anyway. But I think that's what I'm going to do. Public static bool is debug or playtest. This is for any sort of feature that normal players shouldn't have access to. For example, cheats are available to both devs and playtesters, which means, yeah, I think we'll just leave it at that. Big latency between Twitch and YouTube. Wonder if that's on my end. There's usually a large chat latency on YouTube, I think, but YouTube's video is usually pretty fast. I don't think I have it set to like as low as possible, which I think I do on Twitch. So depending on what you mean by big, if it's like a couple of seconds, it's probably normal. But if it's like 10 or 15 seconds, that's probably not normal. All right, now we need to use this. We use this here, and we use this wherever else we had is debug. Twitch seems ahead of YouTube. Yeah, that should be the case. Guild is null, but we're trying to save. This should be a debug specific bug that you can ignore. How does this happen? It's when you skip the tutorial, I guess. Debug, skip that. That's fine. Okay, so all that looks good. Let's just keep searching for feature flags dot is playtest, because there should be very few of these, like this one. And I think that's it. I don't think there is another one of these. Yeah, that was the entirety of it. All right, none of these other ones should matter. Yeah, cool. Okay, so let's try this out now. Make sure this works. This was one of the quick ones. And then we're going to get into some of the meatier work that we have to do. Hey, Vintage. What am I tackling today? Still working on treasure chests, which the goal was to get them done by the end of today. And I was talking to a friend about this yesterday. Like, to get a feature ready for playtesting, it all depends on what you're trying to playtest. And the goal was to playtest for the fun aspect of it. To tell if something's fun, you can't just throw the mechanics out and be like, do you like it? You need to have enough context around it. So imagine if I made an RPG and there was like one enemy and it always did 5 damage and you couldn't level up. And I'm like, okay, is this fun? You'd be like, I don't know, fighting that one enemy for a couple minutes maybe was, but like I don't want to fight just one enemy for the entire game. So you probably need a handful of enemies. You probably need to be able to level up. You need to see enough of the game to know that it's going to work. With the treasure chest stuff, it's like we have it in the game, but oh darn it, I'm in the tutorial thing. But if you find a treasure chest and it gives you like 500 million gold, you're going to be like, yeah, I really like finding that one chest. Then it like totally threw off my economy. Very distracted today. Supposed to be addressing feedback from a PR on a workflow file I wrote. Don't have the mental energy to deal with it. Can you just take the day off? Because if I think that day is going to be a total wash, I think it's best to just not feel guilt about it, although it's easier said than done. All right, we're testing something very specific here. All right, cool. Get this. Good. Okay, so now what we have to do is we have to try building things out of order. So if I build the pond, it should build the farm for me. Good. And if I build the key grinder, it should build the treasure room for me. Good. Okay, perfect. Yeah. Bunch of other stories I need to address as well. It's all good stuff. Already making a positive impact on the new project. Okay, nice. Yeah. Yeah, even yesterday I got done streaming. I did work for longer, and then like late afternoon, I just sort of crashed. And I felt kind of guilty at first, and I'm like, this is probably just my body telling me I need a break. All right, so this is looking good. This is fine too. There's some problem I need to address here. This one. Yeah. Okay, so the totality of this should look fine now. Yep, looks good. Okay, so fix bug with playtest version. When building things out of order due to cheats, the playtest version wouldn't fix the order for you. Yeah. Reduce our deploy time by 5 minutes through caching. Nice. Bunch of comments requesting I make changes. Well, that's not necessarily a bad thing. I feel like it's a code quality thing and a learning opportunity if the comments are good. May have asked at the condition for both that and key storage. Got to fix this. Yeah, cool. So that's done. So let's do the stuff I said that was a little bit meatier, which is saving and tooltips. And then I got to think of the ideas from yesterday, which is like spending keys on something else and needing items to have a function to want to steer chess towards certain outcomes. The only real idea I had there was quests. Treasure quests. I already don't care for writing workflow YAML files. I was hoping it would just slide through. Oh. Is there some CI thing? Yeah. All right, so save the treasure room, the NPC state, all the chests. We probably need to make sure we have enough treasure stands. I don't remember if that's a perk or not. Probably is a perk. Do I have the perks written down here? Perk. I don't have it written down there. I think I just wrote code perks. Yeah. So I'll write idea, add other chest slots, chest openers, something like that. Suggesting we merge my changes into an existing workflow file instead of creating a new one. Just took so much mental energy to write in the first place. Now I have to decouple and make sure I don't break the existing workflow. Yeah. Yeah. Such is the life of development. That's why I think maintaining mental energy is so important. It's like if every task wears you down, it's probably the wrong job. I'm not saying you're saying this, but if that were the case, it's like, it's probably not the right thing to do. There's some way to apply some amount of inherent motivation that you have. Hey Flair, I'd like some treasure. Can we get this person some treasure? How do I? All right, there's a bag of cash for you. I hope that suffices. Well, welcome in. Hope you're doing well. So save the treasure room, NPC state, etc. This shouldn't be that bad. Yeah, we need save data. So let's go pull it from the farm. I don't really care if something's similar to this. In fact, what are we going to have? We're going to save the treasure room and then all the treasure chests. And the chests themselves don't have keys applied to them yet. And I'm hoping it's going to be easy enough to modify this in the future. So let's save this as treasure save data. So this is going to be treasure room, and this is going to be treasure chest. And this one's not going to exist. And then we just need all of these things to contain what they should contain. So let's go figure out what they should contain. All right, so yeah, what are we saving? I wrote the NPC state and all the chests. I think that's pretty much it. Yeah. So a list of treasure chest save data. And we want to save that. And then has NPC said intro text. Hey, Kevin. I'm doing well. Took a break from working on the game for a few days to make a Slay the Spire themed quiz game. I want to run for some friends. Felt good to get a project done in 3 days instead of taking 4 years. There is so much to be said about having just a fun project you can zip through, not worry about code maintenance or quality or anything even necessarily. Just make progress and pursue something for passion. And I think this is why code jams, game jams are fun distractions, and they can typically teach you a lot too. I keep hearing this advice online. It's something like quantity over quality when it comes to learning. You know, in short, I'm kind of butchering this, but like make 500 games over 5 years instead of 2 games over 5 years. And at least in terms of learning, you're going to learn a lot more by just touching a lot of different kinds of things. And I think that working on these side projects or jams or hackathons, I think that's a good excuse / opportunity to do that. Kevin, you're almost done with your first week. How's it feel? Okay, so these things are fine. This, I got to think of what we actually need for this. There's got to be time remaining. That's got to be there for sure. And probably the treasure chest type, which doesn't really exist yet. And whether or not this thing is openable, which could just be saved as time remaining. Time remaining. We never knew what it started at, though, did I? No, we need to know the initial time. Initial time remaining and current time remaining. Okay, not too bad. Not too bad. So now let's go save these things. Let's start with treasure chest. Treasure chest. We also need to know which display had the chest, which I guess I haven't done yet. So how would you know that you have a chest in the second slot here? The only way you know that is if we end up saving off a null, which we tend to do. So I guess that's fine. We could get treasure chest display. And get treasure chest save data from this. And it could just return null. But if we're going to have it return null, then this needs to change. So how does storeroom save data look? Yeah, it's an item question mark. So then this would be a treasure chest save data question mark. I think soon I'll be allowed to look at code. First it's getting training, then it's being able to look at the code, then it's being able to talk about the code, then it's being able to code. Monetic Bind, 64 months. Hello to you too. Thank you for the resub. Hope you're doing well. It's like when Phoebe teaches Joey how to play guitar in Friends. I've only seen a bit of Friends. I don't think I recall that one. I never really liked Friends that much. I wonder, because I think there were like, there's somewhere between like 8 and 12 seasons of Friends. I don't remember how much, but it's up there in terms of shows. And I've probably seen like 2 seasons worth maybe here and there. I'm doing pretty well. I have a lot left on the to-do list, and I wanted to be not done with this. I wanted to get to the point where the only things remaining were like polish or big questions we had outstanding. So as an example, we knew from the get-go here, there will be perks for this thing. At the current moment, I don't know what they are, and I haven't coded the ones that I do know. And it's like, we know this already, that we need these perks. Yeah, sure, we don't need 100% of them for the playtesters, but I haven't even started working on that yet. So yeah, maybe the dream of releasing this today is not gonna pan out. So who knows? All right, so treasure chest display. We want to get the save data for this. I guess this is no different from the crops having save data here. Yeah. So let's save this. Treasure chest display needs this now. treasure chest save data. All right, so if this is empty, if not is occupied, then return null. Otherwise, return the treasure chest information. So, wow, geez. Return treasure chest save data. Easy. Hey, these days. Hey, Israel. Hope you're doing well. Just to report that it's your fault I'm learning to walk again. I bought the corn pre-built recently. Did you get the 5 column or the 6 column one? Also, like typing English at least is easy enough. It's the coding or any other sort of productivity thing you used to do on it that's a lot harder. And I just say to try to balance this if you can. 6 column, okay. Yeah, so I just jumped right into it and I started using it on my job and it kind of killed my productivity in general for a while, but it forced me to use it and it was very frustrating. But then I eventually got used to it, of course. But if you get frustrated, you could just stop, switch back to a regular keyboard, and then be like, I'll try this again later. Having to learn all the new shapes. Yeah, and then I did a video, which I don't know if you've seen this video already, but it talks about sort of how I felt learning this stuff. That was actually Colmac, though. That wasn't the corn, but it's similar enough that it might resonate with you. So good luck. I hope you enjoy the keyboard. It is fun. And once you get used to it, it does feel like you've unlocked something. Especially, I've mentioned this before, but if the only thing you do is add a nav layer to your keyboard, you'll still probably love it. So the ability to be like, okay, I'm typing some letters here right now, and then with these same characters that I'm pressing, I just hold down a different key, and now they're arrow keys, and I didn't move my pointer finger or index finger at all. That is fantastic. And then, you know, being able to close a tab from here or something, or yeah, it's just nice to have all of that at your fingertips. Gotta say, I'm not the greatest fan of home row mods. My pinky keeps jumping to the bottom left to press shift. Yeah, there are a couple different ways of doing those mods, but I'm not a fan of them just for the sake of having dual function keys. Like, I didn't like the idea of, okay, this key is N, and now when I hold it, it turns into shift. So that in order to type like shift T, I'm holding N and typing T. I didn't like that idea, so I put them as one-shot mods. But yeah, there are lots of ways you can ease yourself into this. You have an extra column, so you could use those as modifiers if you wanted to. I probably wouldn't if I were you, but you could do it and maybe ease your way into it. So this is always going to return a treasure chest save data. So there is no concept of returning null. And in this case, all we need to do is return a new, wow, if I could type any of these, a new thing with these. So this needs to be initial time remaining. The in-flight keys, I guess that's what we'll take here. But initial time remaining, we don't even have. Private double initial time remaining. And we set this somewhere. I think we set it only in the progress thing, yeah. Equals time remaining. Yeah, we need to make sure we're loading this correctly too. All right, so that looks fine. I think this looks fine. And now we need this one. And then we need to load all these things. So this is going to be treasure room save data. And in order to do this, we need to return all of the treasure chest save data along with whether or not we've set the intro text. So this is going to be has NPC set intro text. This is the treasure spirit has set intro text. So that part's fine. Now we need the treasure chest data. Treasure chest data. I don't know. And then this is get all item display, select display. All right, now what's the problem here? Argument of type I read only list cannot be used for parameter. Did I mess up the type over here? Oh, yes, I did. Okay. Yeah, cool. like the main thing I do on any new setup is arrows without having to move my hand. Yeah, it's so nice. And of course, extending that to all the other things I do in nav. So I think I have arrows, page up and down, home and end, then escape, enter, backspace, and tab. I think these are all the like super important ones. Then I even did things like control backspaces on here. So if I want to delete entire words, there's still just one key to do that in the nav layer. I have arrows on a raised layer on HJKL since I'm a Vim user. That feels natural and better than the regular keyboard. Yeah, the better than the regular keyboard part. It's like those are the sorts of things that are nice. Also, because the corn is laid out the way it is, it just feels like a numpad. So typing out numbers should be pretty straightforward if you've ever used a numpad and like that. So I like those sorts of things too. All right, I think this is looking pretty good. We haven't loaded anything yet. There should be a load thing that's commented out. Yep, here it is. All right, the first part of this of have we set the intro text, that's dead simple. That's what we do here. This is not farm save data. This is treasure room save data. Treasure room save data. There. All right, so that's working just fine. Now we need to go through each of these. The AI should pretty much know how to do this. It's not at a grid position though. It's just the list of treasure chests. So I guess we go through each item display, which means we need to iterate over these, which is probably not smart. Treasure chest save data. I guess let's get that information. Var foo equal, oops. And then change this from a var. And call this treasure chest data. So now we go through the number of things that we have in this. And we get that thing. Good. And then we need to, if it's not null, what is this? This isn't even the right thing. Chest data. Yeah. If this is not null, then we set it. So we want to get the display that corresponds to this thing. Get all item displays. Element at or default. Dot load from save data. This has to exist, so there's no element at that we need. It's just this. All right, I think that's probably pretty good. I gotta finish this up still. I had a rant about mastering your tools, and I was super convinced maybe. Clearly one of the differentiations from average productivity to higher level productivity. Yeah, I've generally been of that mindset to learn what it is you're doing frequently at least, and identifying when you should be improving stuff. And it's sometimes difficult and it takes time just like everything else. So even when you know what you can improve at, sometimes you just don't want to because you're burned out. Yeah. You just take the keyboard for granted, but going from 120 words per minute to 40 feels terrible. You'll get back up there though. It will happen. Okay, so now we need load from save data in here. We don't have a load function, do we? No. Public void load treasure chest save data. Okay, so where do we set that this thing is openable? Hey, Avi. High words per minute encoding isn't really that necessary with autocomplete. Yeah, I think you kind of injected the with coding part yourself. But like when writing an email, it's pretty helpful. When writing out documentation, it's pretty helpful. When typing messages to your friends, it's pretty helpful. I agree that it doesn't matter as much with coding. Although even then, you still, sometimes the coding tasks will write out things like documentation right in your code. Or a markdown file or something. First of all, I take the old keyboard and can barely use it now. Well, that will also change. You'll get back to it. Yeah. That's why I stay away from Git UI tools, worried my Git CLI skills will fade. I don't feel like that's a fair worry exactly. Like if you find yourself having to use the CLI again and you're slightly less efficient, but it's like a 10% time kind of thing, then just I'd say keep good notes about it. But otherwise, it's like, yeah, use what you're most efficient with or what you think you'll be most efficient with for most of the time. It's like this keyboard is now my most efficient thing, but if I'm on a laptop, it's not like I'm not as fast probably, but it's also not so bad that I feel like there's a problem. And it's not common that I'm on a laptop compared to how often I'm like streaming here. I'm on this computer. All right, so we have some openable thing. Here it is, reduce time remaining. So we just set this to 0 over here, then it should be fine. So this updates everything. We need to also update the timer. I think that'll happen in process, so I don't think we need to do anything there. This might be it. Yeah, so now why is this failing? Because this is return. No, that's fine. Why is this failing? Also, I guess we should just save all these off because this is an enumerable thing. Var foo equals this. Not to list. These are the treasure chest displays. Oh man, come on. So okay, we wouldn't have to do this. Fine. Let's just take this over here. List treasure chest display. So these are the treasure chest displays. And that way we can just do one of these. Now, I still don't understand why load from save data is not there. Oh, because it's a treasure chest display, and that doesn't have load from save data. So in a lot of cases, it's going to be null. We need an item to exist. I guess that means we do need something here. Okay, fine. We'll do that. Public void load from save data. All right, we have set treasure and it passes in an item. Who does this? Drop off item. So we're gonna need to load the proper item from here. Set treasure. For now, I guess we just do item.create item id.treasure chest. And then probably just delete everything else. And then load that thing. Yeah. Hey, Goose. Worried it won't be perceived as a technical dev. It could be. I think that's something you'd certainly have to answer. But I used Git UI tools for practically my entire time on Windows, and I thought it was fine. Again, it's just whatever you're most efficient with. In fact, I guess you could kind of call this a UI tool over here, although it's once you're diffing something, it's all kind of the same. But sure, I'm not running git diff to do this, and I'm not running git add to click the plus button, and I'm not running git commit to click the commit button here. So in that sense, it's definitely UI. But I do know what those commands are on the command line, and it's all a matter of like, would I ever need to use that again? I think it's actually less efficient for me to specifically pick which things to commit through the command line. So like if I want this file and this file, I just click those buttons. If I want just this thing, I right click it and choose stage selected range. It's like this is pretty much as fast as it can possibly be for my workflow. Like having to break my brain in order to learn a new skill. A year ago I picked up Vim, a month ago I picked up the corn. Both things broke my brain. Yeah, they're just such different ways of doing things. And you notice when you're in these transition periods of, hey, my words per minute just got chunked down to 30. And now I need to climb this mountain again. I feel like the CLI is the last resort for me. UI tools are so good. Yeah, and for some people, they're going to say the opposite, and that's totally fine. And that's why I think it's always identify what works for you. And sometimes what works for you may not be the best, and as long as you're mindfully making that decision, I think that's fine. It's like you can type using a single finger for every single key. You can do this. If for whatever reason you're satisfied doing that, then fine. Who am I to convince you otherwise? But you should recognize it's not the best, assuming you have more than one finger. And yeah, I think that this doesn't come up maybe as often as I'd like to see in some of these conversations, that there are mindful trade-offs you make, knowing that something's bad. And the trade-off is essentially either time, interest, effort, energy. not things that if you had the resources that have to consider. Well, assuming you have more than one finger is an actual assumption you should make, right? There are people who've lost digits, and I think if you are doing something for accessibility reasons, it's like that alone is totally justifiable. It's like if your font size needs to be at like 40 just to be able to read what's on the screen, yeah, then you can't really, you're probably going to worry a lot more about navigation in your code than if you could see like 40 lines at once. Okay, so I think we've saved and loaded this stuff. And I just haven't done this from the town section yet. So farm save data, treasure room save data. Town save data doesn't contain a definition for this. Sure. It should know what I want to do here. Doesn't fill it in though. And then loading. So now what's the problem here? This looks fine. I think this just needed to, yeah, that's fixed now. And then farm save data. We need to do this from over here. And I need to do this in the right order too. So key storage is saved. But if the treasure room exists, we should make that first. Yeah, there, that should do it. Yeah. Do you have a video where you talk about different ways to set up modifiers besides home row mods? 200 millisecond delay between A and shift is kind of killing me. I don't have a video. It's just inside my key map. And you would need to pretty much understand enough about how to do this yourself. So what I use are called one-shot mods. And I use something taken from this Callum Oakley person. So the way that this works is, let me turn on the lights here. So you can see on the left half of the keyboard, these things are lit up. If I press one of these, this is now still lit up. This indicates that shift is held. So now when I type E, you see it typed a capital E, and then this is not lit up anymore. So now I'm only typing lowercase e's. So that's the one-shot part of one-shot modifiers. I turn it on. It's now on for as long as I want until I finally press a key. Then it applies it to just that key and then turns it off. And if I want, I could hold it down. So now shift is held down and I can type out a lot of capital E's. But yeah, that way you don't need to worry about how long you're holding something for. So I have a lot of different ways of using that stuff. Okay, let's go try this out. So we need the treasure room. Let's just save and load. Oh wait, that'll only work if no, that'll work. Wait, will it? We skip the tutorial after loading? Probably don't, I'm not sure. Yeah, this looks good. Did it break it all? No, it didn't. Okay, so now let's put a treasure chest there. And it's at 1 minute. Let's do it at 35 seconds. There. Okay, so save and load. Looks good. Let's lower it even more. So just speed this up. I just want to be able to see the progress bar. Yeah, so that's pretty apparent. It's at 59 seconds. So now when we load, it should still be at 59 seconds. Perfect. All right, now what if it's already opened completely? All right, so now we save, load. I should be able to just open this. Yeah, nice. All right, now the next thing we want to do is save this. So now it's in the second position. We hit save and load. Good. And then what about, is there anything else we even need to do? I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, oh yeah, the exclamation mark. So when you click this character, now the exclamation mark won't show when you load again. Yeah, good. All right, that's pretty good. We cut some corners here, which we're going to need to modify later. But this wasn't too bad. Yeah, this wasn't too bad. What I should probably test is what if you don't have key storage, but I guess we'll get to that afterward. This doesn't need to be set to anything. This is fine. This is fine, yeah. Wait a second. Do we initialize this? We probably do. Set treasure should call in it. Yeah, it does. Okay, good. Okay. And what about this one? Yep. And yeah, this function's a little bit weird, but this works. This part's fine. Get the treasure chest save data, get all the treasure chest displays, then set them, assuming they need to be set. Yeah. Okay, sure. All right, so save and load treasure. Okay, make sure we reload the treasure room before that. We did that. Need any key instilled properties like rare items stuff to work? Yeah, I never I never even go to the keys, so we can't do that yet. But make sure to save and load these properties. And make sure to save and load. Make sure to save and load the whatever differentiates chess. All right, so yeah, we can't do that yet. And then after saving a file that has it unlocked, make sure the key storage sign shows. Oh yeah, we didn't do that. Okay, let's go do that. Skip tutorial has this stuff. All right. Should be easy. It also should involve 0 work. It should already just be done, but we're just verifying that it was done. So if we click to build, actually if we build nothing and we just save and load, yeah, the signs don't show up, which is expected. But if I make a new game and I build just the treasure room and then I save and load, the key storage sign does show up because that's a prerequisite for building this. And I don't have enough money, but now I do. And let's turn this on and let's get some swords and stuff in there. By the way, oh man, there was a bug where you would drag an item in here and it would make like 4 keys sometimes. And I was so confused as to why this was happening. I spent a decent amount of time yesterday debugging it. And you know what the problem was? The problem is that when you click grant items here, it just spews out random items. And this sword is worth enough to generate 4 keys, but it looks a lot like a sword that is not worth enough. So they're both red swords and one has a fire graphic and one doesn't. And I just thought they were the same. So this one that I'm holding only generates like a fraction of a key, and this one always generates 4. It took me a long time to realize that there was no problem whatsoever. All right, yeah, the 1 key got saved. And if I save this somewhere else, it should get saved too. Although that was part of storeroom, so yeah, that's all fine. Cool. All right, nice. So this is all done. All right, now for this. Make tooltips work on the chest. Notes about how item tooltips work. Make this work on the item itself, which probably means saying bring this to your treasure room. Make it work on treasure chest. Make sure keys have the right tooltip. Yeah, so what should happen when you hover over a chest over here? I guess we needed to show some kind of tooltip, and that alone is probably good enough for now. And eventually what we probably want to show you is what things you've applied to this treasure chest. Now, this is where we're going to start to have to get into game design for this again, because the original idea here was you have a chest with an opening time, and that time is pretty high to begin with. So maybe it's something like 10 minutes remaining on it, and every key you put in it reduces that time by 1 minute. So after, let's say, 8 keys, not approximately 8, after 8 keys and approximately 2 minutes, the chest will open. Or any combination thereof, right? Minutes and keys are interchangeable in this case. So that's great. That's probably still going to be the case. But then the little twist here was that keys could add special properties to the chest. Maybe like plus X% chance of a rare item. I'm still not totally sold on this idea. And this is what we need to playtest. Hey, Leap Year Girl. This is what we need to playtest. Because I think as a player, the idea of this is I want a certain kind of item. So I'll apply that key. But the problems with that idea, you don't pick which key to make, just which one to use. And there's no real reason to get any specific item outside of quests. And if I don't reconcile these problems, then we really shouldn't code this thing. Yeah, we'll need to get back to the drawing board for that, I think. I still like the skeleton key idea. I think that part's fine. feel like I should know, but I'm not quite sure. What's the difference between game design and game development? Do they overlap or not at all? So I look at game design as being what should the game be, and I look at game dev of how do we make that vision a reality. So as an example, let's say you pick a game that pretty much everyone knows, like Tetris. You would say something like, there are, and I'm going to just make up some things, there are 6 blocks, there are whatever, 10 columns, and there are some number of rows, like 15 rows. Pressing left moves a block. Like, it's a description of how the game should work, and it's just in plain English. And then game dev would be the code that you see for this stuff. So, you know, like function, move, block, and you do the code here. This would be the game development part of it. Now, game dev is somewhat of a broad term. People consider lots of different things to be part of game development, and I don't have any real arguments for or against this. I don't really care, but most people would agree at least that it's coding, but some people lump in art, music, maybe they lump in the design as well. Again, all that's fine. I don't care. Whatever the term is, just make sure you're clear about what term you're using. But yeah, game design is pretty not controversial. It's like a document. It's some mock-ups. It's like figuring out what your thing should be. Hey, Syracuse. So when I say we have a game design problem, what I mean is we can't just be in our code editor and solve the problem. We need to figure out, like, what should a treasure chest be doing? Like, is this fun? Is the idea that we have planned fun? Are there going to be problems with it? So yeah, we need to go to the drawing board for that. Hey, Smack, finished working on an inventory asset for Unity Asset Store. I need to start working on something else. Any ideas? Strengths or UI, UX, architectures? Well, I'd say it's a combination of what do you want to do, and do you feel you have to build up skills somewhere else? And are you trying to make money, I guess? Like, you could try to just make more assets. Or you could make a game using your own assets. I guess that's a pretty good way of testing things. This is kind of why some of these engine developers made their engines public to begin with. It's like, hey, we're already making this product. Let's have other people test it for us. Then it became a monetization route in itself. Hey, Hef. Treat it as one discipline versus the whole field. Yeah. I tend to as well. But I get the argument for inclusivity here. You know, I've seen this said before, something like artists are game developers too. And it's like, yeah, I can accept that. That's fine. And I think of this entire class of discussion as being a terminology problem. It's like, imagine if you said something that is a little bit vague, like, I don't know, I'm an audiophile, something like that. This doesn't have an agreed upon understood definition, I guess, in the audio community. Maybe it does. So it's like, just explain what that means. Oh, I spend $10,000 a year on audio equipment, or whatever, I'm an audio engineer as my day job, and whatever, something like that. Only FLAC. I have a siren in my place that goes off if I download an MP3 file. I was thinking, what should be the next asset? I guess you could base it on market need if you want to, or base it on what your interest is in making. If you said it's UI and UX, I guess dialogue systems are very in need of UI and UX, and typically want people to have custom assets for that. Maybe some kind of camera control thing. What else? Some other common UI component, like a talent tree or a skill tree. That could be it. Yeah. And more in the vein of game design is coming up with systems and refining them, and game development is everything else. Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay, so, I just deleted that, didn't I? Oh, thank goodness. I have it on my clipboard. I was just randomly closing tabs. All right, so we need to address this issue. The idea of different keys was, I want a certain kind of item, so I'll apply that key, and then here are the problems. Yeah. Skill trees on your list. Okay, nice. Yeah. All right, well, let's get the basic tooltip stuff to work. It's been a little while since I've done this sort of thing, so let's figure out what's the closest to this. And I guess it's just a crop. So there should be some like on hover. Yeah, there's hovered over and stopped hovering over. And what does this do? If not, was already harvest, hovered over. And then something says what to show. Hovered over crop. This figures out a hovered crop for what reason? Oh, because update tooltip needs to know. Yeah, okay. I think we should do this just like how crops did it then. So let's go copy some stuff. Treasure chest. Yeah, I want this here. So hovered over, stopped hovered over. Then go plug those in. So mouse entered. And mouse exited. We don't really need a function for this. Stopped hovered over. Yeah, we don't need a function for this. We can just do this up here. I'll delete this. So mouse entered, mouse exited. Turns out we already had this. Oh boy. All right. Well, what do you want to do? Hovered over invoke and stopped hovered over invoke. And why is mouse over even here? I don't know, but I guess we can delete that now. In fact, those functions were totally pointless. Hey, Ingvar, do you recommend learning TypeScript? I think whenever someone comes in and asks me this sort of question without extra context, my general stance is it's always good learning anything. And this specific thing is like, will you use it? Do you want a job that uses it? Yeah. So yes, just general yes, but you could have substituted that with like, is it worth learning glass blowing or something? And I'd say yes as well. Like the more skills you know, the better it is, I think. But yeah, TypeScript in particular, like if you see yourself doing web dev, I think it's mostly for web dev. I mean, at this point, you can use any language for anything because you can compile to pretty much whatever you want. So like if you're using JavaScript right now, yes, 100%. It's worth learning TypeScript for sure. But if you're using, Java or C or something, is it worth learning TypeScript? Like, probably not. It all depends. All right. So now something needs to listen to this. We have the hovered over stuff. Yeah, this. And we did this for the plot. Why do we do this for the plot? Oh, wait, no. We did not do this for the plot. The plot forwarded something. Yes. Which we will probably need to do. Okay, great. Yeah, fine. So does the plot pass in a crop? It does. Yeah, all right. That's not bad. We can do that. So treasure chest display. And these will both take in treasure chest. Treasure chest. And then whenever we make the treasure chest, we put this here. Surprised it doesn't know what I want it to do. That's pretty good though. Obviously biased. Monadic bind. Might as well do monadic bias. Treasure room. All right, so anywhere we make a treasure chest display, we have an open thing here. We want hovered over is going to be like on hovered chest display, I guess. And then same thing with stopped. On stopped hovering. On stopped. I prefer on stopped hover. Yeah, that. Okay. So yeah, update tooltip. All this stuff needs to be done. Treasure chest. Oh, this is just the chest, not a display. Okay, we got to rename this, but I'll do that later. And now it's later. We just needed to wait for the second function to be written. Okay, so how about we just put some prints here? You hovered over a chest, period, plus treasure chest dot. Do we have any public thing we can get here? Oh yeah, there's a remaining time. Yeah, that's pretty good. And then how about you stopped hovering over a chest? Yeah, perfect. Okay, let's try this. This is better than I thought so far in terms of me being frustrated. I'm not frustrated, but there is no guarantee that was the case. So we hover over this and it should just say, yeah, you hovered over a chest, 99 seconds remaining, then 98 seconds. So this should reflect whatever it is that this thing says at the time. Yeah, perfect. All right, now that is not a tooltip, of course. So we need to show that. Let's go take a look at that. So this is tooltip, show from source, and then we need to know which thing we've hovered. All right, not too bad. Treasure chest, hovered chest. Hover chest, set this thing to this, set this thing to null. Presumably that's what's happening over in the farm too. We set that to null. Ah, only if the crop is the hovered crop. How smart. All right, well, it's a good thing we just saved ourselves the time on that. All right, so this has to change to if the treasure chest is the one that we're hovering over, then hide it and null it out. Good. Now what else? Now we need this thing. We can get rid of these prints. All right, nice, not too bad. Show from source and then update tooltip. So update tooltip, I have it to do here, get working. Yeah, let's just get all of this. Change this thing. All right, what are we doing? I guess we'll just say treasure chest here. And then the text will say, I don't know, body text. I'm not going to figure this out right now. Yeah. Yeah, something like that. Let's try that out. All right, so we get a chest there, and look at that. It says it. Treasure chest, body text. Nice. That's actually exactly what I wanted. So now I don't know what should go in this tooltip because I don't know how keys are going to settle here. But maybe we'll just replace body text with something like, well, we need to know whether this thing is openable. Also, we probably shouldn't call it this. We should probably call it body text. So if is openable, that's not a thing. If hovered chest dot is openable. Yeah, if it's openable, then say body text equals click to open this treasure chest. If it's not openable, then it should say wait for the treasure spirit to open this chest. Or no, not to open this chest. Wait for the timer to no. Wait for this chest to become openable. You can speed this process up by bringing keys to the chest. Something like that. Yeah. All right, let's take a look at that. Wait for this treasure chest to become openable. You can speed this process up by bringing keys to the chest. Okay, so let's just manually speed it up. And it says click to open this treasure chest. Okay, yeah, pretty straightforward. And that's it. That's kind of good enough for now, right? Yeah. I'd say this was pretty easy. I don't see anything bad there. Other than that, this isn't really such a helpful tooltip, but we don't know what this is going to need to be yet until we figure out the rest of the design. So add tooltips to treasure chests. Oh, wait, there's one last thing I didn't test, which is that this should automatically update itself. So if I get this thing close to opening, which we're just going to wait. Sorry. It'll be another 6 seconds. And I just got to stop it in time. Good. All right, so if I hover over this, it should automatically change its own tooltip to say click to open. It doesn't because I forgot to put process in. So that's why we tested that. Yeah, in fact, there's a to-do right here. Easy. Sometimes to wait for the AI to say the thing that's very obviously needed to be changed here and it doesn't do it. All right, so is there a way we can do this again and not have this take forever? I have an idea, but it's going to take long. It'd take a long time to do such that this wouldn't have been worthwhile. But we go load up the save file. Save data. This is not saving us time at this point. And then we search for 99. And we set the current time remaining down to 3. And then we just reload the game. In the amount of time it took me to modify that save file, we could have just sped up time by 8x. Sometimes you just do whatever. Ah, there it goes. Cool. So yeah, now the tooltip automatically updates itself. That's not necessary if we're not going to do anything based on the timer showing. There's already the timer text above it, so I don't think it's necessary. Now, there is some other thing to consider here, which is the way that the farm works is crops literally grow. So they have different sprites as they mature. With chests, it would be kind of nice if we could do that. Like there's just a sort of a progress meter to it, but you can't tell how long it's going to take maybe. I'm not actually sure if that would be nice. Anyway, let's check that in. The next thing we have to do is fix the tooltips on the items themselves. Bring this to the treasure room. Yeah, this should be pretty simple because we have 2 to-do items here. Fill this in later. A key that you can use to open treasure chests. No, that's not smart. It should say what it does. Wait, no, but this has a function. Ooh, I guess if all keys do the same thing. Maybe we need a tooltip when you're holding a key and you hover over a chest. More quickly. And a treasure chest. You just know that it's holding great loot. Bring this to the treasure room. I don't know if we can use EM dashes. I don't know if it's going to render. Let's go try it out. So add in a rich text label and type in EM dash. Does that render? Yes, but is this the right font? Yes. Okay, then there's no problem there. So let's go try that out. We're just looking at the tooltips right now. A sturdy treasure chest. You just know that it's holding great loot. Bring this to the treasure room to start opening it. Do we ever use /n/n? Yeah, we do. All right, let's put that here. There. And then let's look at keys. A key that you can use to open treasure chests more quickly. Yeah, that's good. Okay, so modify. I'll try one more time. I modified the treasure chest tooltip and I didn't look at it in game, and I really like looking at it in game. I know you can just read the string right there, but it's still nice seeing it in context. Sturdy treasure chest. You just know that it's holding great loot. Bring this to the treasure room to start opening it. All right, so if we bring this to the treasure room, now it says wait for this treasure chest to become openable. You can speed this process up by bringing keys to the chest. Pretty good. All right, modify tooltips for new items, for chest / key items. Okay, all that's done. All right, back to the drawing board. Oh, man. What did I decide here last time? Conclusions. Every key by default is a regular key. There's a chance you get a rare key. All of them will still decrease the chest time, but have one extra mod inherent to the key type. And there were things like increase the chance of rare stuff, increase gold and sludge. Okay, so here's how we could probably make this more palatable. Let me make a new section here. Special keys. Yeah, and I want to put this here. Okay, so as designed, I guess let's put the date here. As designed originally, there would be different keys that could apply some kind of modifier to the chest, e.g. plus X% chance to find a rare weapon. In theory, this sounds cool, but there are a few problems. Why is this tabbed in so weirdly? Malmsey, ready and excited to start playtesting this weekend? Nice. Yeah, I hope. Thank you for the resub, by the way. I hope that the treasure chest stuff can be kind of ready by then. I am still working through some of the design, which is not a good thing if I want this to be done in like 6 hours. Yeah. All right, so problem number 1 is that skeletons can automatically move keys on their own. So they may grab a key that you wanted to use, and then you can't do anything about it. So that's problem number 1. And this is actually why what Magnetic Bind says probably can't work here, because if there is a chance to corrupt a chest, then a skeleton could just bring that corrupted chest and make it kind of worthless. Problem number 2 is this. You don't pick which keys to make. You just pick which ones to use. And then problem number 3 is this one, which is that you don't even necessarily want specific items out of this stuff. So regarding automatic use, we could just make all of the keys be upsides, be only benefits. That was already the plan. However, I guess the fun would be choosing which key to use where in a way that your skeletons won't do. This is the issue. Yeah, so if we went with this idea, here's how this works right now. So you have the weapon grinder and you have a bunch of workers and stuff, and they're bringing some weapons over here. So they're going to go throw some weapons in. And imagine if instead of always generating yellow keys, this one was red. And this red key was like, hey, gives you a rare item when you open the chest. So you're like, oh my God, a red key. I'm going to go put that in my treasure chest I have over here. And you do that. And now the treasure chest, when you open it, is going to have, you know, frost sword of slaying or something like that. So that might sound cool, but it's like, well, that's just going to automatically happen. And you didn't pick which key to generate. And it doesn't really matter which chest it goes in. Yeah, there's no real reason to pick chest A over chest B when it comes to using the keys anyway. So originally, what I had said is, like, this is the design before even this newer design. I said, what if you had only like 3 kinds of keys? There was one that said minus 20% time. There's one that said minus 1 minute. And there's one that said open immediately. So obviously open immediately is the best. It's very special, but it'd probably be pretty rare. But if you just consider these two, it turned opening chests into sort of a mini game, but a very boring mini game, in that you'd always use this if on the chest with the highest time, and then you'd always use this on any other chest. Hey, Ed Chess. It's going to sound like I'm saying your name all the time. What are we doing? We're working on a game called Skeleseller. And right now I'm trying to figure out a game design problem with how to open up treasure chests. So treasure chests will contain loot, and we have keys that can speed up opening them. But I wanted to use special keys that would do something, and I just can't think of how this would be fun. So we have all these other keys. For sure, we can add in the skeleton key. The skeleton key could just immediately open a chest, and that would be fun. So at the least, we could have a regular key and a skeleton key. But then, could we do something else with these other keys? Yeah, so the problem with this idea is that it's just not that fun, and your workers would need the optimal logic in them anyway, such that you could ignore this. So what this seems to kind of be saying is that maybe we don't want workers to move keys for you, which I spent forever coding yesterday. It could be a perk, as Magnetic Bind was saying, although I'm not sure if the perk was about the corruption thing or about keys being moved. But if keys being moved is the perk, then whatever it is that we do, you'll eventually automate out the fun. So it's like casting spells in the game right now. You build the enchanter, and at first you're choosing which spells to cast, but then eventually you're just unlocking auto casting, and then you're not making those choices anymore. Well, not on the fly, at least. So kind of the same thing when it comes to keys and opening chests. But there's got to be something here. There's got to be some other thing I haven't explored that'll kind of get this to work. I think people would eventually be frustrated by this. And I already coded the ability for workers to move keys. It could just be a priority that you turn on or off. What's the game made with? It's made with Godot and C#. Yeah, the perk was about the corruption thing. Yeah, so in general, what could a special key do to the chest that would be fun and interesting? And maybe this is the wrong question to ask. Maybe rare keys can just be so rare that feels nice just to find them, and you don't really care what they get used on. But yeah, the ideas that I had were like plus loot, items, gold, sludge, minus time, and that was it. Those are the ideas. Yeah, that was all I had. Could do plus power in some way, temporary or permanent buff, or plus like special items. Could be special items. Maybe the rare items are something like Rogue's Dagger. Give this to the rogue to give them +5 attack permanently. Since it's kind of about progression, I feel like you should start manual and work your way up to getting rare keys commonly. Maybe you can't automate opening until you get a rare key. Yeah, I think a lot of this is going to have to come out in playtesting, in that by the time you unlock the treasure room, you're going to be about halfway through the game. And then I want treasure to be one of the mechanics you actually kind of focus on a bit. So the weapon grinder is already automatable. So you dragging these keys up here could be something that makes you interact with the game again. And we probably need to lean into that even more. That's why you need to get enough keys at a decent enough pace. So are the items you get inside the chest random? Are they like loot chests? I'm not totally sure yet. Like the plan is for them to be random, but then for there to be some like influenceable component to that randomness, which maybe isn't needed. There was another idea that I had. By the way, I kind of like this idea is maybe worth considering, although I don't want to code a bunch of other stuff here for this. But another idea would be that each chest has a particular, oh, this could be kind of interesting, has a set of items that correspond to different keys. So for example, let's say there's a red key, a blue key, and a green key. Each chest could have a red item, a blue item, and a green item. You guarantee those items by putting in the corresponding key. Putting in multiple of the same kind of key wouldn't help. Oh, in fact, you know what else I just thought of? One of the chests actually has like these little gems in it, and they're red, blue, and green. We could actually change the graphic based on which thing you've unlocked already. That's kind of interesting. But not all chests have that. If keys buff the treasure in a chest, players kind of want to apply more keys to get better loot. Yeah, and yet there's a limit, because let's say a chest has a 10-minute opening time. That means you can at most put 10 keys in, because at that point it will be open and keys won't fit in it anymore. So that's kind of interesting too. But yeah, I think this idea of like, you know, build up the loot that's in the chest with keys only sounds interesting on the surface, and I think it would break down in practice. Hey, Codex, could the user manually merge keys to produce special or rare keys? Yeah, I think that's an interesting thing too. Could have the player merge keys themselves. Maybe combining two keys. Or like 2 to 5 keys randomly makes a random rare key. Yeah. Hey, Burger. What do you use Google Docs for over Obsidian? I think I have a like Y Google Docs command. Yeah. Weapon grinder makes keys. Key grinder makes rare keys. Yeah, it could be that. And I guess you'd still have a way to automate that. Although I'm not certain how I feel about that exactly. This idea is kind of interesting. Although I still think this is probably going to be a confusing thing. Also, in the end, you still have the same problem you have originally, which is there's no real reason to want any specific item. So eventually, this stuff can play into the museum idea where you want to collect X of each item. Then you'd want to steer towards certain items. Until then, I guess it wouldn't really matter. Okay, so what if you change the contents of the chest from loot? Like a golden key made the chest drop gold. A slime key made the chest drop sludge. Probably still not all that interesting. And then my friend proposed an idea last night, although we didn't have time to talk about it. What if you could use keys on something else? Maybe there's some like giant chest that takes 100 keys to open. We could just make it so that all of the treasure chests take a long time to open and you just need a lot of keys for it. It would keep your workers busy. I don't have any great ideas here. Nothing's super standing out. This is probably the closest to it, which is give items a function. But even then, would you want to control what that is? Maybe the controlling of it is weird. Maybe, I guess it's not really weird if it guarantees that you get. Okay, hold on a second. There's randomness in the form of keys, and then there's randomness in the form of the treasure chests themselves. And then the chest can have a loot table. So there's like 3 inputs of randomness into this thing. I don't know if the keys are adding anything interesting by also being a source of randomness. And if you guaranteed that you got some like rare buff item out of this thing, then it's pretty much like, oh my God, I finally got a red key. I get a permanent buff, and you don't know what it's going to be yet. I still think for this to be interesting, your choice has to play into it. But your choice playing into it is difficult when your skeletons are just going to bring keys over to the chest anyway. Like if I click both of these things. Oh, we don't have another chest. Okay, if I do this. Yeah. And then we wait a very long time because they move incredibly slowly when they're carrying chests. I'll speed it up. Then when they finally get here and throw it in, you'll see the keys go in as well. Yeah, so they're going to go open up all of these chests. And then I can click these. Match up the key with the chest, and it would act like a skeleton key. Otherwise, it would act as a normal key. Yeah, but the problem is, wouldn't you want your skeletons to do that matching for you, such that you could just kind of just ignore it, and your skeletons are going to do the optimal thing anyway? Like you have a red chest and you have a red key. Your skeletons are going to bring the red key to the red chest. Otherwise, they're just not going to pick it up or something. Sounds similar to something I have in my game. Players get a key. It opens a random chest when used. Each chest has a theme with a loot table of various things. Players really enjoy them. Yeah, and I think the overall idea players are going to enjoy. The thing that I think is difficult about this is figuring out how do the key system, how does it work, and how does it fit in with the automation? And there was something here. Oh yeah. There could be different keys for different chests. But then we still have the problem of automation and the choice of keys or chests. If you only get random chests and you find a red chest but only have blue keys, it's not really fun or helpful. It could be that we vary the amount of time. Like a regular key is -1 minute. Like a red key is -2 minutes. A blue key is -3 minutes, and a skeleton key is immediate opening. That's not too bad. Yeah. It's not too bad. It's not that interesting. Given that the keys aren't just palette swaps, they are actually all unique sprites. Just wanted some piece of uniqueness around this. But that's the core problem of Skeleseller has kind of always been items are fungible. they're just proxies for gold. In most games, items have a function. Like this would be a weapon that you equip. It has certain properties to it, and that might make it better or at least different from this weapon, and obviously would make it very different from a shield. But that's not the case in Skeleseller. The wand might as well just be a shield, which might as well just be a cloak. The only difference is which shop it gets sold at. And the only specific function you could really have is for a quest where you need a certain item. So that in essence, this potion now is both money and it is a quest input. Well, okay. Of all the ideas I've talked about, this is the most immediately doable and also pretty easy and also pretty understandable. This is the best idea so far to solve the problems we had. It's just also not all that interesting. Both chest and key types could indicate rarity. But there still needs to be a function to that rarity, right? Maybe I'm not understanding correctly, but like a key being rare means it needs to do something that feels rare. And if it's just, oh, subtract another minute, It's not bad. It is a better effect. It's just also not that fun. I wonder if we just don't put a lot of thought into this for now. Feel like something is missing about this system. We would need to add on to it for any new keys to make sense. Rare key could decrease the time more. A rarer chest has better loot. Yeah. So those, well, the part about the key is this plan that we only just came up with. The part about the chest was kind of already the plan. Like if you go to, let's say, the forest, you're going to get like chest level 1. And if you go to this place, you're going to get chest level 3. And if you go to this place, you get like chest level 5. And they have, correspondingly better items. It's just not that interesting. What else could rare keys do? Okay, how about we pursue this question? What if we had another function for keys? I don't know what it would be exactly. I feel like this is what I just mentioned. We'd have to create a new system or modify an existing system for this to matter. All right, just gonna spitball some ideas. What if you could sell keys? You got a key shop. So now you're deciding between, do I want to use this key to open chests or do I want to just get some money from it? You open a key shop. Maybe there are special rules about this shop. I don't know what the rules would be. Like customers are getting their own treasure chest and they need to open them. They could just be desired items, I suppose. I don't really think that's interesting. Also, the number of keys you'd have to generate for this to work for the treasure system could possibly negate any sort of shop mechanic. Okay, what if you unlocked new locations by throwing keys into the portal? But then the problem with that is that then we lose the gold sink portion of that. So unlocking new locations should cost you gold so that all the stuff you're getting from chests are working toward that. Whereas if it just took keys directly. So I think this is probably the wrong way of looking at things. I think my conclusion is that we don't need keys to have another function. We need the loot from chests to have another function. Like, I don't think you need to make any important decisions about which system you want to use a key on. It's which chest you want to use it on. Could find... What if there's just one special key? Like red key did something like guarantee a rare item. That rare item would be picked based on which chest you use it on. So a low level chest may grant something minor. You could have some super crop that's worth 100 sludge be in the chest. We could have... I guess we could have a temporary buff for adventurers. All right, I don't know. I think what we should do is just go with this system for now. The whole different keys are just different amounts of opening time. I don't think it's super fun. Yeah. Does it address the original problems that we had? Skeletons can automatically move keys on their own. They may grab a key you wanted to use and then you can't do anything about it. So this does address this problem in that you would just make sure that they are only pursuing chests that will actually benefit from the key. You don't pick which key to make. So this is like better keys are just pure upside. There's no reason to get any specific item outside of quests. This hasn't been addressed. Except for that now you can't change which items are in the chest. So I guess it sort of kind of has been. And there's no reason to pick chest A over chest B. This is now based on how much time is remaining. I think we just hold off on this system except for skeleton keys. Skeleton keys we might want to do. And even then, maybe we don't. Whenever you apply a key to a chest, there should be floating text telling you what the effect was. It'll probably be clear from the timer itself. Make sure to save and load these properties. Yeah, I think we just delete all this. All right. So I think my real conclusion here, the real overall conclusion is that we need to playtest this. It feels like something is missing, but I don't know what yet. And I don't want to code something like this idea without analyzing whether there's a better idea out there. Going to automate this. It needs to be something players want to automate. So it should probably be something that's a little annoying or tedious to do manually. Yeah, I think that's already the case. I mean, that's kind of how pretty much all the item movement works in the game. Like bringing a key from here to here is not a fun task. And it is something you can do, and it is something you probably will do. But yeah, your workers eventually just doing it, and eventually being as soon as you unlock this thing. Man. Yeah. I'm just thinking about the balance of even unlocking chests and then getting so much stuff that you've always got enough keys. It's just, there's just got to be something else we can do here. And I mentioned earlier, what if keys had another function? And I kind of rejected that idea, but like, what if you put keys into the pond and it did something certain? Or you could fish up treasure chests, or you could something else. Probably shouldn't be some kind of actually fun or deep minigame. Boring is okay. Yeah, I guess if it's fully automated, I guess one of the things that I always kind of harken back to here with this is like the garbage slime has a really simple mini game, if you want to call it that. When it's at higher hunger, it'll offer you more money. So right now it's offering 13. If I just keep hovering over this for long enough, now it's 14, eventually be 15, and then it maybe caps out at 16. So like you feed it to this, but now the next thing you offer it is going to be less, and the next thing is less, and the next thing is less because now it's less hungry. So like this at its most basic is an interesting idea. It's like it does get you thinking a little bit. It's pretty easy to understand. And yet you can automate this stuff so that your workers will make use of that system too. So if I do this and then speed this up a little bit, like now my workers are going to eventually put a bunch of items into the slime and kind of ruin this for me. And you have some tools to stop that, but you can see I'm only getting 1 gold per item now. So I think keys working in something like that way, where there's at least the tiniest thought of a game or a mini game or something, I think it could be interesting. But yeah, I think playtesting will suss out whatever that should be. So let's just skip this for now. So code all the different keys. We're just not going to do this, I guess. Did we have a bunch of perk ideas written down? Hey, Grim, I'm doing well. Yeah. Hope you were doing well too. Read them with perks. I wrote perk a bunch of times here. So, here we go. Increase the chance of chests dropping, increase the value of loot from the chest, speed up lock picking. I mean, I'll copy this, but these don't all make sense. Looks too crisp. Do you plan to use a pixelated variant? No, these are handmade fonts from Quickie Joe. So I don't actually think the text looks bad or weird in this game. I think it's actually fine. It's too hot today, melting. I wonder what the weather is where I live right now. Oh, it's not bad today. It's a high of, well, okay, never mind. The high is a little bit high, but right now it's not too bad. All right, any other perks that were listed here? Increase potency of keys. Yeah, I don't have anything written there. What about over here? Nothing? No, wait, there's some stuff here. Perks board. I didn't write what they are. Yeah, here it is. Increase speed, speed of lockpicking, etc. Is this all the same stuff? Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, so then this is not that great. So chance to find a skeleton key could be interesting. Increased chance of chest dropping, I think could be interesting. Value of loot, I'm not sure. Like we need enough. I basically need to expand the system somehow. We need to like arbitrarily come up with some other piece of this system. And I think that's the other problem that we have here. This shows from which perks I had like tentatively written down. They're just not that interesting. Increasing the chance of a chest dropping sounds difficult to balance. Maybe you craft treasure chests? Should they be rare drops? Maybe finding chests from battle was the dumb idea. Maybe you should be purchasing them. Problem is that chests are only meant to be for money right now. So you always need a return on your investment. Could be the different keys have different chances to either open immediately or do nothing. Yeah, I could see that being a thing. All right, I think I should take a quick break and then come back to this and take a look at this again. So I'll be back. Is it jump time? It's jump time. Hello again. Close the game. Thanks for playing. All right. I don't know whether to stop here and say that we do need to just play test this, because I think if I put this in the hands of playtesters right now and I'm like, okay, hey, you can get some treasure chests, they might be like, okay, yeah, this is an interesting idea. My workers are just feeding keys into it automatically. I open it, I get some loot. But there's got to be some progression to this system, and it's missing. Came back from eating a snack, heard jump music. Yeah, we need some progression from this system. I think this idea of maybe treasure chests should have been found in a different way. I have an idea for how this could happen. So yeah, maybe finding it from battle. Well, not maybe. So finding it from battle would have meant that on a long enough timeline, we're giving you a chest every so often. Maybe that chest should just be given to you so that there's some predictability. This idea I like a lot, this train of thought. Like, it is kind of weird to be like, hey, you can get a treasure chest from going to the forest and battling. And then now you want to just like keep all your adventures there to try to get a treasure chest instead of going farther in. And maybe you'd hope that you get better ones later, but like you're weighing how fast can I complete a battle here. So basically the variables are the duration of the battle, the chance for a chest to drop at a location, and then the loot that the chest contains. The loot right now is basically just some amount of gold. So this is like X gold. The chance for a chest to drop is like a Y% chance. And the duration of a battle is like Z speed. So you can figure out how long, just based on these two things, how long will it take you to get a chest. So maybe you compute from the above two, you say something like the forest, I'm going to get a chest every like 1 minute and 47 seconds. And from the cave, we say it's a little bit lower. You're going to get it once every like 2 minutes and 30 seconds. And then the loot that you get works out as some amount of gold. So then from this, you can figure out what's my best gold per minute. I don't expect players to do that stuff, but I'm also not sure that's fun, even if they knew all these variables. Hey, Sinistel. And that's what makes me think there probably should be a different way of getting this. Like, what if a chest just spawned in your treasure room every so often? Or it spawned out of the portal, I guess is a better way of saying this. Each location had a chest type. You could have the rare reward from each chest type to give a perk to an item type from that region. But one of the issues is like, again, all items are pretty much fungible. What does a perk to that item type even mean? Is it just giving you more loot? But I don't know if we should even have these drop from battle. Spawned out of the portal every so often. So I guess then you wouldn't even need to battle if the chests are super valuable. Although you would need to battle to get items, to get weapons to make keys to open them. Sells more to slime, adds more to farming, etc. Yeah, I think, like in my mind, those are things that just get kind of smoothed out. And if you ignore the treasure chest system completely, you'd still end up doing the same things that you were doing originally. Like in battling at the forest on your second time through, you'll probably naturally find enough of the treasure chest to get whatever the reward would be. So this would need to change a decision that you make. And I guess that's what we need to think of here. Whatever we do, we probably need to change your decision making in some way. The weapon grinder is the most basic form of that. in that you're giving up money from weapons so that you can get it from chests. And that on its own, I'm still not sold by. I guess it's basically saying like you need to do battle to fuel the treasure chest system. All right. So yeah, this idea of what if they just spawn out of the portal every so often? So like once per minute you get a treasure chest and it takes a long time to open. I think it's something I want you to trigger yourself though. Like you perform some action and you're like, "Oh my god, finally a treasure chest." And you go put it up here and you're excited and then you see the time slowly go down to 0 from like 10 minutes. Once you have the chest, I feel like everything's fine, but getting the chest should probably be different. What are you spending gold on in the late game? So there'll still be some perks. There'll be a few remaining adventurers. There will be unlocking new locations. Yeah, that's pretty much it. What we could do, we could make it so that chests are somehow the main thing to focus on in the late game, on the mid to late game. So they drop items that you need for quests, or they drop items so much more valuable than regular items that you feel like you have to get them. What if we had this take like worker time or something? What if this is where a mining system came in? You're sending workers to just be busy at a location and they churn up some items or a chest every so often. It could be adventurers, it could be anything. It could be, yeah, I'm not sure. This would decouple it from the battle system. If you are using adventurers, it would have to be a battle. Maybe getting them from regular battles is not the thing. Maybe it's that you should be getting them from a special treasure chest location. Maybe you find chests from battling, but only at special locations. So like forest is still just for enemies, but then there's a like a treasure mine that is for finding chests. Those battles could be longer or more difficult. I think the issue is as you level up, the length and difficulty will decrease such that now you're just getting chests faster, which is maybe what you want. Maybe you're choosing to go there every once in a while, like you mix up your adventurer parties so that you're finding treasure chests so that you max that out. I kind of like that idea a little bit better. This would be sort of like fishing in that you would need to send your adventurers elsewhere. But only when you need treasure chests. Chests can be stored in the warehouse though. So maybe that's not so interesting. Plus, regular battles still have to drop something. Gotta fight the treasure chest. Yeah, I was thinking about that too for some time. Although then I thought anything that causes you to spend time getting the chest, if you then got a chest that had like a 20-minute timer afterward, you'd be like, why'd I have to have a timer twice for this stuff? They have so many keys. Oops. Look at them go. There's a hurling keys over there. they're almost out, but I guess they're generating more from the treasure chest. I wonder if they can ever run out completely. Let's find out. Nope, I think they're out now. Yeah, there are like 3 keys remaining. It's a neat system to watch, if nothing else. Make the battle harder but have better loot. I think using keys on a battle would be a little strange because you can auto repeat battles. So there'd need to be some intermediate thing like the fishing pond. You dump potions into the fishing pond, which gives you fish, so that anyone who was in a battle with the fish will see more fish in the battle. Chest of her walking's pretty good. All right, well, what do we have here? Code perks, which I don't know of. This I didn't know of yet. This we don't really know. Your first chest in the real game. Not feeding the chest of the garbage slime. Set this up for playtesting. Proper loot, getting these flat. Yeah, I think this is the most important thing to be doing, man. It's like tearing me apart here that I hadn't sort of answered this. I don't know if we gained more clarity in coding this that it made me realize like, okay, here's what the problems are going to be. Or if I just sat on it for long enough that I finally was able to think about this a little bit more. But yes, I do think getting a treasure chest from something else in the game could make this an interesting decision. So then what could we have you do to get a treasure chest? What else could we have you do to get treasure chests? Could be a new system that involves workers or adventurers. It could be a special battle location. Could be regular battle locations. Could be some kind of crafting. A purchase. You know what actually kind of interesting too is what this is totally different, but what if you were forming treasure chests out of other items and then selling the treasure chest to customers? So like what if a treasure chest could go into any kind of shop and it could be like a bundle of 5 armors and you put it in, but that's kind of what item stacking is. Fishing somehow, yeah, I guess it could be from fishing, although I don't think I'd want it to be from fishing. The pond or a treasure mine. Time-based thing. You have like the treasure spirit is summoning chests. And you can speed this up somehow. The chest contains customers? Is that what you're saying? Is the time-based thing interesting? I think you'd want some way to speed it up. And I don't know if it would just be a perk. But offering it any sort of input when you're getting money out of it eventually is maybe a bit strange. I mentioned the new system thing, right? You know what? I just thought it would be kind of funny. What if it is some mini game that you're doing, which is almost like solving captchas, not truly solving captchas, but like something your workers can't do for some reason. So you're basically just like clicking some levers or knobs or solving like one of those sliding puzzle games. I'm not suggesting any of that in particular. None of that's fun. But if you did enough of those and it just gave you chances to get a treasure chest. Actually, we could connect it to something like the enchanter. There could be a spell that just says something like make treasure chests show up faster. I guess that would negate the loot magnet one though. Bosses could drop treasure chests. I think that's another idea we can just include somewhere. In fact, it could be It could have been that we only make bosses drop treasure chests, and then you just have to repeat them, and they keep getting stronger and stronger. That would mean that you're limited in how many you could get, and you can lose the items from them, so that'd be a bad idea. But as an additive idea, like whatever we do up here and bosses drop treasure chests, I think that's interesting. But I think having them drop the rare item directly is also kind of interesting. So I guess it doesn't matter too much either way. Some kind of crafting. I guess let's talk about some of these things. So what would crafting look like? You're spending items to get the chest, spending weapons to get the keys, then getting items out of the whole process. It just sounds like it's too much trading to make sense. Could have mini quests. So quests basically would stop giving you workers, and at some point it would just be like, just keep automatically starting the quest system, seek out certain items, and then you'll get a treasure chest as a reward. This is sort of like crafting, like very specific crafting. It would still make battling be worthwhile. Treasure couldn't feed the quest system if we did this, since the quest system is feeding the treasure system. Requires a new save. Old save's no longer valid. Is it like demo into release version, or is it just like release version X to release version X plus 1? 7 days to die. PS4 game. Hold on a second. I don't know why I didn't just type Steam here. It released a year ago. Yeah, wow, weird. That is too bad. So I think this is out. I don't like this because it seems like it would be impossible to balance. And it's probably not all that fun to just randomly get treasure chests. You would have to figure out the best location based on duration of battle, chance for a chest to drop, and average value of items from the chest. Special battle location. This sounds like it would be tough to do. If you can win it once, you can probably win it any number of times. We could have it increase in difficulty, like the slime's hunger meter. E.g., the longer you go without battling there, the easier it gets. It's almost like the fishing pond in that case. Let the treasure build up, then go farm it out, then open the chest. At that point, though, is it interesting that it's a battle? I don't think so. I think it's still problematic at that point. Yeah, a new system that involves workers or adventurers. This was something like the treasure mines being in town. You send X workers there and they eventually get items or get treasure for you. It could just be some amount of time. Maybe it just takes time. You send a worker in and they will return with a chest 30 seconds later. So anytime you want a chest, you just click it a bunch of times and you'll eventually get a chest out of it. This would completely remove the need to battle, though. We would need chests to take an unreasonably long time to open to incentivize making keys since you need weapons for keys. Maybe, oh my God, there's so many problems here. Major version upgrade. It's still too bad that the saves don't work anymore. I feel like they must have changed enough where the save doesn't make sense, because it's not always a question of technical ability. It's like, let's say you have a game that's got 2 characters in it or something, and then you add in like 40 more characters. It's like, should your save still make sense, or should you just have to start over because they changed the game so much? Maybe the weapons for keys thing is a problem. For the, if only because chests will probably drop more than enough loot for you to get keys to open new chests, which would then further make it so you don't need to battle. Man, maybe it's just a loot grinder. You just throw in a bunch of loot and you eventually get a chest. And it just takes so many items that, I don't know. No, this probably doesn't make sense. It's got to be value based. Could have made it so that you form chests by grinding loot down to nothing. And then you get keys some other way. Pretty sure they warned us ahead of time, but you know, gamers are reading development blogs. Yeah. And even if it was in the game, it's like maybe you didn't open the game for a while and then you finally come back and you're like, what happened to my save file? But yeah, I could see drastic enough changes to a game where you do want to delete saves. I said the thing about characters earlier, but I was trying to think what's a better example. And it's probably like, imagine you had a skill tree and you just deleted the skill tree or something. It's like, all right, your save, there's no system to move your skills to. So it's like, what do you do if you got to the end game? And anyway, yeah, I bet people will still enjoy it. This is one of those things that rocks the boat for a bit, and then hopefully people are just on board with the new thing. But I've never played that game. So I think in designing this, I'm trying to figure out what are the important things to me. And it's like, I don't want battles to be meaningless. I don't think I want battles to drop chests because of the inherent balance problems. Existing save files would be hosted. Yeah, something like that too. Yeah. Although there are ways you could migrate it and still have it kind of sort of work. Like you could say, we'll, I don't know, refund all of the money or the resources, or expand the map size, or allow them to violate the rule as long as it was from that save version. But yeah, maybe it doesn't make sense doing any of those things. If chests can be obtained without battling, then you may just never battle again. And I guess this comes down to like the loot system could be something to augment what you currently have. Could be the battles drop some secondary resource. I wrote purchase, but I didn't say with gold necessarily. Could be a purchase with another resource, and you get those resources from battling. You find like 5 diamonds per forest fight. Then you find 12 diamonds per volcano fight. And you trade, 500 diamonds for a chest. Would it be interesting if there's just one treasure chest? and you're just speeding up how quickly you get those, I think that could be fine. But I think having tiers of it would be interesting for if you eventually got so many diamonds that you're just like, I don't want the regular chests anymore. I want the more valuable ones. If you did this though, adding any new currency would mean you probably want a way to convert between currencies. So like you have a bunch of gold and you need treasure chests. That is another thing we could do. It could just be a purchase with gold and oh darn it, there was a second part of that. I don't remember what it was. What if they release the source of the museum specific item? So it's just a gold and maybe loot sink. This is assuming they complete the museum is necessary to beat the game. So they could be, but we don't have the museum in the game. And I'm not certain it's needed for launch. But I do think people would like the idea of collecting rare items for that. Hey, Karada. Set up a pretty sweet camp and horde base. Now it's back to the beginning. I think there's some amount of fun in going back to the beginning for something. But yeah, it is also frustrating losing any progress you did, especially if you spent a long time on it. So requirements. Inherent balance problems, a time-based thing. Should have said I'm steamed. Please don't curse in this chat. I want to see S star 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 star. Time-based thing. The chests are already time-based. Chests are already time-based. I don't know about adding another time-based thing. Oh man. Why is this so difficult? I feel like I'm close to figuring out what we need to do for this. Again, we coded some of this stuff without like fully thinking through this, so maybe this was a mistake. But yeah, one of the problems I had originally is like if a treasure chest is going to have any loot in it, then whatever loot you get out of it is something you can put back into the key grinder to get more keys for your. Oh right, you can't do this because of the drop zones. Did I write that down? I think I did. Drop zone. Yeah. Hey, resets. Could you have both gold and chest be battle rewards, but have the chance of chest be really low? That was the current idea, was have chests be from battles. But I think one of the issues is just it's kind of a balancing nightmare. Like you have these variables, the duration of a battle, the chance for a chest to drop at that location, and then how much loot that chest contains. And if you knew all of these variables, you'd be able to figure out which place is best for you to fight. Granted, that's already kind of inherent to the game. Like each location, you have a duration of the battle. There's no chance for a chest to drop, but you still know that the average loot that location contains. So you could figure out where should my party be fighting. And now I'm saying that I don't want that to happen for chess. We could just say that too bad it happens for chess. Using a key on a chest should make it bigger. Yeah, it's another idea we could potentially do. Other random ideas. Using a key on a chest could make it bigger. Or I guess just like as a chest gets closer to opening, it gets bigger. So we pretty much do something like treasure chest. Where is it? Just put it in process. So float percent complete equals it's 1 minus this. And this is just time remaining. And then we say scale equals new vector 2. Yeah, 1 plus percent complete. All right, so we try something like that, I guess. Hey, Matt, I'm really struggling here with the treasure chest stuff. Just the game design of it. All right, so now as it gets closer to opening, it's gonna get bigger and bigger. This looks kind of silly. Oh man, it's huge. Actually, is kind of an interesting idea. Yeah, yeah. I'm hoping that a critical piece lets it drop into place would make chests get bigger as they get closer to opening. Looks sort of silly on the podiums. Right now, I'm kind of questioning everything again. Like I wrote down what some of the problems are, and yeah, here they were. So one is that skeletons move keys on their own. So if you have keys over here, a skeleton is going to automatically move it to a chest. You don't pick which chest because the skeleton is moving it for you. So if keys differentiate themselves, then skeletons need to use the optimal logic for them anyway, such that now different keys aren't really interesting anymore because you're not going to be touching them most of the time anyway. The second thing is, if there were different keys, you're not picking which ones to make, just which ones to use. So even if there are interesting choices and skeletons aren't automatically moving them, you still just randomly get the red key versus the blue key. Then once you've opened the chest, it's just basically gold in there in the form of items. You have no use for specific items. Finally, yeah, the different chests aren't really that different from one another. So I started questioning a lot of this stuff, and the thing I kind of came down to is like, what if you got chests in a different way? And I don't know what that way is yet. And what if you got keys in a different way? Yeah. You need more game mechanics attached to chests, or do you just want them to be gold only? I don't know, and that's one of the problems. I don't know if playtesting is gonna make the answer obvious. Like right now in the game, if you just consider items in general, so all items can be sold, so they're worth gold at least. Then some items are needed for quests, which gives you workers. This is pretty rare that happens. And then some item categories are used for specific machines. So potions will eventually get you wisdom sludge, and weapons will eventually get you keys. But that's it. There's no other function for items. It's just these, right? Yeah. So we'd pretty much need to say like add some functions for items, even if they're made up just for the sake of chess. So as an example, chess could be a form of power progression, and that could drastically change the balance of the game. Maybe they could only be a form of power progression. Like you're only getting, what if you only got like power buffs from chess and no loot or minimal loot? So now chess could be a money sink so that you can get more power. So basically we'd be saying they're like equipable items, but it's not really equipable, more like consumable. But what we're doing there is, in essence, we're kind of changing how leveling up works. We're saying like level ups are just needed for skill points, which are valuable. But then you can also choose which adventurers you want to level up. This is endgame, right? It's like exactly mid game to end game. So if you play for 5 hours, this probably hits at like the 2.5 hour mark. and then leads you toward the end of the game. Yeah. Two things come to mind. Is there going to be endgame gold sinks? Could chess be a way to unlock heroic skills to basically level a max level adventurer to heroic skills? So adding new skills is probably too much work at this point. Like, it could be done, but I just don't think it's going to change a whole lot. Like, we already have 7 per character. I think we can just change how we balance this. So what I'm thinking, if we did a power progression thing, would be that it modifies your stats a little bit. So yeah, chess would be a way to level up. I'll put that in quotes. It's not really leveling up. Probably just stats. And they would take a decent amount of money to unlock in the form of keys. All right, now we're probably thinking a little bit more along the lines of what we need to be talking about here. So what if the loot that they dropped was... All right, let's just brainstorm this. What if they only dropped 2 items? They drop a I don't know, we say like a power potion and a fortitude potion or something like that. Or only dropped, I should say, these items. And maybe there's a health potion as well. And this is +1 power permanently, and so on and so forth. +1 fort permanently, and +5 life permanently. So anytime I see something like this, I already think of some inherent problems, which is like, how do you handle scaling? Because your first potion you get is much better than your second one in terms of marginal increase. How do you handle people just like decking out one character? You know, you put 100 power potions on your rogue and you're just like, well, I'm wrecking everything. So what we could do is we could differentiate these by class. There's like a rogue cloak, a warrior axe, a whatever mage staff, and this was pretty much like +1 level up sans skill point for the rogue, +1 level up for the warrior. So now you're hoping for certain items to level up the characters that you want to level up. Gold in the mid game where we can play to now is not actually very valuable. Yeah, and chess could become a solution to that problem if we make them into like, yeah, I'm not sure still how we'd get them, but we could do that. But if chess are going to play into being a gold sink, then they can't give you gold. And that was, I think, one of the key problems. And maybe that's what took me so long to realize here. If chests were going to be helpful when they gave you loot and items don't have a function, then it necessarily meant that whatever cost it was to get/open a chest needed to be much lower than the value of the items within. This is a problem because it means that chess will become the singular focus for money. Keys and gold to unlock chests, so you might consider recurring gold costs per building and building level. So you make it so you always need that churn. Well, if we make it so that this is how you end up leveling up your characters, or again, leveling up, let's just, you increase their stats through this, then we start balancing the game around you having a certain amount of like treasure. We would balance the game around... Is there a bug on my glasses? I don't know what that was. Hang on one sec. There's something... I don't know if this is on my glasses or flying near me. All right, I have cleaned my glasses, so now if I see something, it is definitely just something flying in front of my face. Oh. You having a certain number of these treasure power-ups. I do think it's an interesting idea to do this. And if we're a little bit clever, we have 10 characters in the game right now. So I'm thinking, what if we dedicated one item for each character so we don't take too many of the extra graphics that we have remaining? So like this is the special rogue cloak that powers up your rogue, and you know this is the cleric staff, and this is the mage staff, and there's something for everyone here somehow. There's maybe we use the maybe use a skull for the witch doctor, and this would be for the archer, and so on and so forth. So they all have an item, and you hope to find those items, but there's no guarantee, and maybe you steer them toward a certain thing. Maybe that's what the keys could do. You're buying like the archer key, which guarantees that you get the archer quiver, which guarantees that you power up your archer. Hey, Darshan. All right, I kind of like this idea. Maybe you could influence the item drops with keys. Because otherwise what this would do, if you couldn't do this, then it's like a really slow leveling process. Yeah, that's evenly distributed. You could just have this cost different amount. What are we doing today? I always try to keep the today command updated. But what we're doing right this second is trying to figure out, do we need to redesign the treasure system? And I think this is interesting. So now you'd open up a chest and you'd see like just 3 items pop out of it. You'd see like rogue cloak, archer quiver, archer quiver. And you'd be like, oh, nice, my archer got more powerful. Yeah, I think I like this. This is after your main wisdom sludge leveling, or are you thinking of replacing wisdom sludge? So what I'm thinking is basically this, that we have like wisdom sludge is for leveling from 1 to 20. Every other level is a skill point. And every level is plus stats. And then the treasure system would be just further plus stats. So it's meant to augment the leveling up process. So by the time you can unlock the treasure system, maybe you're level 8. Maybe this unlocks around level like 6 to 8, something like that. So now you still level up and still get power that way, but you also get treasure. Yeah. Now, in terms of how we theme this, if this is what I'm doing here, so, you know, you get this like super warrior armor here or something like that. What are we theming this as? Even if we love this idea, what is happening when you get like 90 rogue cloaks? You're not equipping them all, right? Oh, muscle. That wasn't, it wasn't clear to me. I was pronouncing it differently in my mind. Break them down for materials. But then like what are you doing with the materials? I guess what I'm trying to ask is like how are we making sense of you getting more powerful from finding the same item tons of times? So like let's say one of your characters needed this dagger and you found like 400 of them. You're not equipping 400 daggers, right? And if you're bringing it into a material, it's like, is the material of maybe you're researching? I guess we could say it's researching. Maybe you're researching. Or maybe you're trying to find the best possible, or the like the upgrade. So maybe the items all look the same, but they have some level associated with them. Roll into the original for extremely small stat boost. But like again, what's the sort of like lore reason behind that? Imagine you had like 400 daggers. Are you powering up a dagger by like breaking down other daggers, I guess? This isn't super important, by the way. I just think it's worth at least considering what's happening that leads to these changes. These can be combined up to epic eventually, whatever that means. Yeah, they can be thought of as finding upgrades and swapping gear out. Yeah, but I wanted them to have the exact same graphic every time. Like as soon as you see this, you're like, oh, good, my rogue got upgraded. And when you see this graphic, you're like, oh, good, my paladin got upgraded. Also, I don't know how you would consume these things. How would you consume these things? Maybe your adventurers have to go to town and then just pick them up. And you would see text like plus power or plus fortitude. I guess I can't really give fortitude. I guess it would just be power and life. Next one you find is +2 shadow dagger, and you can see it on the character sheet as what they're wearing. Yeah, I guess it doesn't play with something I might not have vocalized, which is we may not want the upgrades to be linear is not the right thing. We may not want the upgrades to be in increments of 1, I guess. E.g., maybe it's like leveling up. And then you get like 1 cloak is the first bonus, and then 3 cloaks is your second bonus, and then 10 cloaks is your third bonus or something, and so on and so forth. But that could, I guess, still we could theme that the same way. And I shouldn't be jumping the gun on this. Let's just talk mechanics for now and not lore reasons necessarily. So is this steering in the right direction? I think this solves a massive problem, which was this, that if you were going to get loot from chests and it was going to take you loot to get them, that the chests were always valuable and they would overshadow any other system. But if it's an augment to your leveling up systems that you have, so that now this is how you get more power, and loot will still just come from battles, then I think that could work. So you open up a chest and you just see the items appear like right, I guess they'd still go into your warehouse. So you'd see like a rogue cloak go into there. In fact, let's do this really fast and let's just kind of mock this up. What do I have here? This is just the size changing stuff. Let's get rid of this for now. So let's go into all item data and just take any, where's that like skull cloak? Skull amulet cloak. Do we have any other cloaks? Hunter, golden, poacher, sorcerer, void. Okay, one of these is the right one. I got to figure out which one. It doesn't matter. It's probably this. All right, so let's take that. And then when you open up a treasure chest, so we have a frost sword. What's it called? Oh, it's called a frost sword. Ah, there it is. Yes, frost blade. Okay, so what if we just generated a couple of these? So like sorcerer's cloak. Let's come up with some other, maybe 1 or 2 other items. Maybe that quiver. Yeah, let's get the quiver. All item data. Do we have a quiver? Yeah, quiver. Okay, so let's take, which one looks the coolest? Let's take the green one. So there. Okay, then let's rename these things. So this would power up the archer. And the sorcerer's cloak. This would power up the rogue. All right, let's try that. Just make them all rings. I always like this idea of what if there's an RPG where it's just as many rings as you can jam onto your finger. That's how many things you could wear, and they just kept giving you more and more power. Here about equipment, what's going on? I will explain in just a sec. So first, let me make sure that this is working. This would power up the rogue. This would power up the archer. Okay, great. Also, that is not the cloak I thought it was. They're like way down here. Oh, I was thinking of capes. Oh my god, those aren't even cloaks. Okay, well, whatever. So then, fine. Yeah, that's fine. Whatever. It doesn't matter. All right. So, yeah, let me explain. Here's what I was thinking about. The loot system that we designed for treasure chests, I think had a few problems with it. One is that you got keys by grinding up weapons, and then you use them to open up treasure chests, but then the treasure chest gives you so much loot that it's like you'll probably never run out of keys. They would have probably just given you enough money where it would have been fine. So like there's kind of an imbalance with the input to the output of the system. That was one problem. The other was I'd planned for different keys to exist, but your workers are just going to automatically move any different keys to a chest. So either they have the optimal logic coded in or they don't, and then you're fighting them for keys to the point where differentiating the keys doesn't really make sense. Chests were originally supposed to drop from battles, where it's like now you need to really figure out, is it best to just fight in the place I know I can win because I'm going to get some treasure chests? How often are you getting them? I still haven't answered this question yet. And then if all they were supposed to do is give you loot anyway, like doesn't this just overshadow the battling system completely? So that's what made me think maybe we should steer this toward you get items like these, like this quiver. I shouldn't say poison quiver on it. Say something like rogue's cloak and archer's quiver. So you get some like equipment, except for all you need to do is you just need to have your character walk over to it and they'll like pick it up, raise it above their head, and then they'll just power themselves up. And no one else can pick this stuff up. And if you want to sell it, you can sell it, I guess. So yeah, your rogue would walk over to the cloak and just pick it up, and now you'd see in the character sheet like cloaks 20, and it would say what stats it's giving you. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. It's like it's a lot of changes. Yeah, a lot of changes. Hey, Olgo. Welcome in, everybody. I always like a very lively raid, and this is a lively raid. Welcome in. Hope you had a good stream, Olgo. We are trying to redesign chests right now, and let me just write some to-do items so I can show the thing off. Oh, what's that? Olgo wants to collaborate, stream together? I've never seen this, but are you even still streaming? Olgo, no, you're not. Yeah, I don't know what that's about. But yeah, let me have this game running in the background here. So this is Skeleseller. This is what we've been working on. Nope. Okay. This is the game where you hire adventurers, they do battle for you, and you sell the loot that they find. So the battles are automated. This is an auto battler kind of game. And this is probably going to take forever because I just threw the golem in, which is more a defensive character. So I'll just speed this up a lot. But yeah, so when you win battles, you get loot. And then you can sell the loot in your shops. There are customers walking around town. They'll buy this stuff. And then with the money you get, you can use it to upgrade your adventurers, upgrade your town. And what we're trying to design right now is the treasure chest system. So I've coded a lot of this without totally knowing what was going to happen with this. So you can get treasure chests. So if I just fake spawn one here, you can get treasure chests. They have a certain amount of time it takes to open them, but you're never expected to wait that amount of time because you can put keys into the chest to lower the amount of time significantly. So like now it only has 40 seconds remaining and now it's openable. And then you can open the chest. And what I'm thinking of is maybe it can drop items that will make your characters more powerful. So that's what we've been talking about. And yeah, this is be tough. First one is an affiliate. So we worked on my channel points icon together. That will double as an in-game gold icon. Nice, 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 nice. Yeah. Well, that's awesome. And congrats again on being affiliate. Thing you were looking for is Hero's Cave. Yeah, although for the sake of demonstration, it doesn't really matter which icon I pick for this. Yeah, so anyway, the to-do, what I want to say is, what are the questions we have from this, which is, how do you obtain chests? Are there differences in keys? Is there any other problem with this system or way to simplify it? Are you upset when you get an item that isn't for your character? Or not your character, for the character you want? And the conclusion so far, based on what we said, was I still don't know how you find chests. Keys still open chests. Chests drop adventurer-specific loot instead of general loot to be sold. And the loot powers up those adventurers. Yeah. So like plus power plus life. The plus life thing could be a general item. Should a plus life potion be a general item? Then whichever adventurer gets there first gets to drink it. It's probably not going to work since you can't choose just one adventurer to leave a battle. I don't know about that. Leave it on lurk though. Peace. Gotta run to pick up my kids. Have a great stream. Well, thank you. Thank you for the raid. Congrats again on affiliate. Yeah, nice to see everybody. I've just been so mired in all of this stuff lately. The treasure chest, keys, just these systems in general and figuring out how they're going to work. So we are probably going to need to do more game design before we can get back to coding. Thanks, Too Easy. This is a Corn keyboard. It is very small compared to regular keyboards, but you'll see that I don't move my hands very much as I'm using it or as I'm moving around the operating system or anything. It's just everywhere you need to be, you're already there pretty much. So conclusion, still know how you find chests, keys still open chests. I guess really we should just talk about the changes. So rather than dropping general loot or like fungible loot for sale, chests drop adventurer specific loot that powers them up. That's all of this stuff. Cool. And the rationale for this is that if you're getting more gold from chests, then you'll need another gold sink, and we don't have one planned yet. Thus, chests themselves should be a gold sink somehow. Oh, now you can just buy them, right? Although then we need to stop gold scaling. Could just purchase them. There could be a buy button above each podium. Maybe you can eventually allow purchasing better chests. Okay, now the system is coming together. I talked about this earlier, but when you purchase them and they were going to drop loot that you would then sell for money, it would never make sense. Because let's say the purchase price was 500 gold, then the loot you get has to be worth more than 500 gold or else you'd never purchase the chest, which meant that whenever you could afford a chest, you should get a chest, which is kind of stupid because then there's not really a decision to be made. Whereas now it might be that you're dumping money into this every so often. You can even have some automated way of doing this. Could even automate the purchases. So now this is your infinite gold sink for the rest of the game. There could even be chests of any monetary cost. So you could spend, say, 10k gold at once and get a chest that will drop at least X items. Keys could play into this, where different keys increase the number of dropped items. Okay. Yeah, this is all coming together. And I think I deleted something from here that I probably shouldn't have deleted. Well, now it's too late. Wait, it's not too late. Let's just Command Z a bunch of times. Yeah, this. Okay, so we copy this, and then we redo, and then we see if that is still there. No, yeah, I deleted it. Oh my goodness. I think it's all coming together. Matt was right. It's happening. Yeah. Different keys increase the number of dropped items. They could even steer you toward a specific item. Maybe a key could pop up a special menu that lets you choose. I don't know about that. But maybe a skeleton key could drop all of the items. A skeleton key could drop all of the items. Add quote, Matt was right. No context, none needed. Is progression from these items done in increments of 1, or is it like leveling up? Yeah, Let's see. It'd be kind of nice if each item just gave you a benefit, but we like really need to focus on the balancing at that point, and I think that'd be very tough to do. So like, let's say we just level this character up to 7. Now when you get a treasure chest and you get +1 power, it's roughly +1% power. But then as you work your way up to higher levels, well, I don't really scale the stats that much, but if you were here, let's say, now it's like +0.5%. So you need more and more of these things, which you'd probably get. Although we could scale the stats such that we're giving you 1 power per level, but you have like 500 power to begin with. Alternatively, we treat it, like I said, with experience points, where here... Oh yeah, we probably need customers to not want this stuff. Oh, it would be kind of funny if you could just sell these. These probably should have a value, and you just wouldn't use them for their value. No. If they had a value and you could sell them, then your characters would automatically sell them. Can you sell these items that drop? They'd probably need to be in their own category, or have a special flag such that workers won't pick them up. Alternatively, they could go to a special like equipment warehouse instead of your main warehouse. Yeah, there's a lot we could potentially do there. All right, I don't think we're gonna have this ready today, but I think these ideas are good. What was the other thing I was just talking about that I didn't finish talking about? That was important. Oh yeah, that sludge thing. Yeah. So this takes 10 sludge to level up, and then the next level takes 40. We could have that be the case for this. So it's like, go find 5 cloaks for your rogue, and then go find 15 cloaks for your rogue. So it is like a mini quest. I think I like that idea. I think it should be like leveling up, and the first couple of levels should maybe have an increment of 1. First couple levels should just require small amounts of this stuff. Yeah. Hey, Sarah. Where's the slime upgrade where you don't even have to drag and drop? They'll just get slimed if not picked up. What? There's a cap at the end of your message, but I'm not even totally sure I understand the joke. Hey there, Root. I'm new here. What language do you use to build the game? I'm just using C# to build it. All right, this is working better. This is definitely working better. Let me go back to the original problems that we had, because I think we've kind of addressed them. Where is it? Yeah, skeletons can automatically move keys on their own. All right, can you pick which keys you're making? That might be interesting. So you're basically choosing to level up like 1 adventure. Can you choose which keys you're making? Oh my God, we finally have a semi-equipment system in this game. That would make sense with the game. You don't pick which key to make, just which one to use. Yeah, this is potentially going to get addressed. There's no reason to get any specific items. That's now totally wrong. No reason to pick chest A over chest B. So maybe you can see the contents of the chest before you open it. I don't think that would really matter though. Can you see the contents of a chest before you open it? Would this even change your behaviors at all? So it was amusing that so much of the game design and dev is how to make the player more engaged and have fun. And a pseudo-automated game, full automation and disengagement might be the answer. But the systems need to still appeal to you to some level. Like, we could have some arbitrary, just like every system gives gold. There is no interplay between the systems, and it's like you click a lever and you get 1 gold, and a worker brings a thing A to place B and you get 5 gold. It's like there needs to be some theming around this, and it's got to draw you in somehow. It can't just be totally arbitrary. Those totally arbitrary games do exist though, but even then there's some interplay between how you're getting these things. So yeah, I think just purchasing them is like the greatest possible idea here. At which point it's not really a treasure room. It's more like I guess you can still call it a treasure room, but it's more like a treasure trader or something. Hey, bits of play. Yeah, I guess we need to think of like, how does this change the theming of anything? How does this change the theming of everything? E.g., if you're purchasing chests, is there still a treasure spirit? Like we could have it do that, and you're just buying the chest for it. I think that's fine. But yeah, I think purchasing it is pretty important. As for how you purchase it, I think the scaling gold cost is interesting. So we probably need to do a little bit more drafting about that. So let's say a chest costs 500 gold at first and is guaranteed to drop one adventurer specific item. So it'd have to feel like you leveled up an adventurer because now you have a gold sink for doing this stuff. I think this makes sense though. I think it's all going to fit. But how does this scale? Like the ones about the OS and IDEs. Definitely gave me some ideas. Nice. Okay, good. I'm glad. And thanks for following up on that. Yeah, a lot of time went into that stuff. So at some point, well, wait a second. We don't need some exponential growth of item values. Although we probably should still keep increasing it by like 20 or 30%, so that whatever costs 500 now will eventually not feel like it's that expensive. But then also getting one item at a time won't feel like it's that great. We could have different chests to buy and not some infinite sink. We could also just not figure this out right now and see what happens in the game. This is something where playtesting can almost certainly make it easier to figure out what we want to do. There could be a permanent upgrade for the treasure room to simplify the UI. E.g., the button becomes 1500 gold to click, and now the chest guarantees 4 items. So 3x the cost, but 4x the benefit. Just to reduce clicking. Actually, it's kind of more than that, isn't it? Okay, so then I think that's a conclusion. So changes rather than, I don't even think we need to write changes here. Rather than dropping fungible loot for sale, chest drop adventure specific loot. Rather than getting chests from battles, you now outright purchase them with gold. Rationale is, I wrote somehow here, chests themselves should be a gold sink. If you're getting more gold from chests, we'll need another gold sink. We don't have one planned. As mentioned above, chest should be the gold sink. Yeah. It's also a nice way of adding an infinite gold sink. Although now we don't have one with sludge. You eventually hit level 20 on all your adventurers, and now you have no reason to ever engage with the farm or the fishing pond. But I think that's one of those things where it's like functionally infinite. You will have beaten the game by the time you get to like 3/4 of the max level. So who cares if you go spend the other time? It's sort of like, I guess a pretty good example here is in most of the older Final Fantasy games, like if you take Final Fantasy VII, max level might have been 99, but you could probably beat the game. I'm just going to make up a number at level 60 or something. So like this could have been infinite. They could have just as well made this be like 999,000. Most players probably still wouldn't have ever gotten there, because if you beat the game at 60, what was the incentive for you to do that? Now I recognize it's a different game. It was never meant to be automated, but yeah. I guess the other thing we could do is we could just make levels be infinite. No, we can't. We only have so much display in the UI. So we could have it go up to 99, I guess. And just keep giving you skill points, and you'd never have a use for all of them. You'd eventually max out literally every skill, which you can almost already do even at level 20. So how many, I should have counted, how many skill points that took, that's probably what the max level should be, maybe like 25 or 26 or something. Imagine getting to feed them sludge to level them up for rematches instead of it being a single perk. It's kind of interesting, but there need to be a reason for you to battle the stronger ones. And I just don't have a reason for that in the game. Also, I think you giving a resource to power up a boss would probably feel bad. Also, a nice way of adding an infinite gold sink, since you can keep increasing the power of adventurers. All right, so further ideas, I guess let's write this down. You could automate the purchasing of chests so that you don't have to keep clicking. There could be other ways of getting chests, e.g. from bosses or very rare drops from battles. Because now if you get them from battles, it's not a problem. But they should definitely be rare. In fact, maybe Loot Magnet could change. There could be a spell that says when winning a battle, like 5% chance of dropping a chest. That's not going to work. All right, what else do we have? There could even be chests of any monetary cost, further ideas. So we could let you upgrade the buy button to cost X times more, but give like X plus 1 times more benefit to reduce how much clicking you have to do. Alternatively, you could just expose a buy treasure chest and buy epic treasure chest buttons. All right, so obtaining chests, I think we are fine on that. Now, keys. Keys could play into this where different keys increase the number of dropped items. So we originally talked about we have a time to open chests, and just this sort of basic key would just reduce the time by 1 minute. And the skeleton key would immediately open the chest. So we could make it so that different keys steer towards certain classes, maybe, or that they just add an extra item to the chest. Adding an extra item to a chest that was already going to drop 1 item is doubling the efficacy of the chest, all just by getting a different key. This is where something kind of interesting could be done. We could introduce that mini game, but with loot. So like you get a treasure chest and it says 10 minutes to open and 1 item inside. And then a regular key is going to be minus 1 minute. And the red key is going to be minus 1 minute and plus 1 item. The blue key is going to be minus 1 minute and like times 2 items. And the green key is something like minus... Well, I guess we can't really do anything else with that, can we? Anyway, something like that. So like if you could only get blue keys, you'd want to use a ton of them. Although this scaling up by times 2 every time means you could go to 2 to the 10th, which is 1024, which is not something we're going to do. So clearly there's got to be some limit there. Maybe it's, minus 5 minutes in times 2 items, so you can only use 2 of them. So you could use 5 red keys to get to 6 items and then multiply by 2, or 4 red keys and then multiply by 2 twice, so you get to 16. If you provide blue and red, it increases the chance to get the rogue item. Or just guarantees it. Yeah, combos of keys could work. So like green key plus red key is the rogue item guaranteed. We need enough bits. We have 10 characters. So in order to represent that, we need what, 5 bits? 8 plus, no, we need 4 bits. Yeah, 4 bits. So that means 4 keys. And you probably wouldn't want to learn these combinations. It might not be fun to do that. Wait a second. No, this is the, hang on a second. They're not bits because it's not just you have that one key. We could have like green, green, green. How would that work? It'd be 3 to the third. So yeah, we need 3 keys and allow for duplicates. So like green, green could be rogue. Green, red could be warrior. Green, blue could be... Anyway, whatever. We figure all that out. Which items the chest drops, so maybe that example didn't apply. Could be combos of keys that matter. Could be that like red key -1 minute, green key minute and +1 item, and blue key -5 minutes and ×2 items. I don't really like this idea. This still plays into the fact that your skeletons can bring keys to chests automatically. So like you wouldn't want them to waste a blue key in this case, given that it's so powerful. Okay, well, it could be that. Could be 1 key per adventurer, and each key gives +1 item for that adventurer and -1 minute. You're not deciding these keys, though. If you're not deciding which keys to get, then none of this really matters unless you're choosing the combinations, as Kevin suggested. And I'm not sure you would want to memorize the combos or look them up. You'd probably just be like, I don't really care. But I think that if you can't steer it toward you leveling up a specific adventurer, that it might not be as interesting. Because if we totally leave this up to chance, then that means that over a long enough time, all adventurers will get powered up evenly. So if you have a 10% chance for a rogue item, and 10% chance for a warrior item, and 10% chance for so on and so forth, then yeah, it means that over 1,000 trials, you'll have gotten 100 of each kind of item. Not exactly. And that, yeah, your rogue got 100 power-ups and your warrior got 100 power-ups, and you didn't steer that. The other thing I guess we could do is allow you to transmute items. Could allow you to transmute items. E.g., you get the rogue power-up, but wanted the warrior one. So you convert it somehow. Kappa, by the way. Just crafting, you have to combine the keys, and then each chest only takes 1. But then we can't automate the system, right? Because we need workers to automate them for you. I guess the workers automating them would be the way of it having just be random chance. We could force you to combine keys, and workers could combine the keys for you to make it random. Otherwise, you steer toward the class you want. Also, yeah, would there be a problem with a character, with a player focusing on like one kind of adventure? Problem with the player focusing on one kind of adventure? Kind of mesmerizing, hey Mitch. You can select which key combination you want. One of the options would be whatever. Yeah, but you might not have the inputs for the key that you want. And then what if it just doesn't make anything? I think workers could do a base level operation that simply farms chests for gold. The player can craft the better keys for progressing. Well, so I'm not certain. I'm not even certain this is a problem. Let's just boil it down to this one question. Question: should you be able to influence which character you're powering up? In other words, if the answer is no, then it means each chest could drop completely random loot. If the answer is yes, then you either need a way to influence the loot or to change the outcome. Or not change the outcome, or to, like, yeah, transmute the outcome. So, ignoring the implementation part of this, from a play perspective, how do I feel about this? You can already choose which adventurer to level up by just clicking a specific button. So what would it mean if you could choose which adventurers you wanted to power up using this thing? We could just have like a re-roll mechanic, and you can re-roll something once. Because I think combinations of keys for inputs would be a little strange. Could allow you to do this just once per item. Or have a cost or something. There could be a spell that influences the chest output. If the answer is no, it's more grind than gameplay. I think if the answer is no, it could potentially change what your decision is. Like, let's say you had 5 random drops and they were all ended up being the warrior. You might say, well, okay, my warrior is more powerful. I'm going to use them now. So in that sense, it can change your decision, although the odds of this happening are so slim that it probably wouldn't. But that's kind of what I was thinking, where if they were random and you're like, oh, well, this character's getting all the power anyway, let's just use them. So I think players, I think I already know. I think players will want to influence this. If they don't want to, they can just ignore this, hopefully, and get the system where it's totally random. If they do want this, though, and we don't support it, then there's nothing they can do. Grind will be pretty minimal. Another question: if you haven't hired an adventurer, what do you do with the item that drops for them? Yeah, I don't have the answer to that question yet, but there are a couple of options we can do. What happens if a chest would drop an item for an adventurer? Oh my god. For an adventurer that you don't have. So like option 1 would be don't let that happen. Option 2 would be have the player figure it out. You get the item and can keep it or dump it. Oh wait, one other thing I didn't talk about of what do we do with those special items? Can you sell the items that drop? Some of the items that drop may not easily fit into a shop category. E.g., the witch doctor may collect a skull, which is neither a weapon nor an armor. Nor a potion, I guess. A weapon, armor, or potion. Only hire adventurers you love and influencer drops. Yeah, I don't like that aspect of game design. Like, if I'd known this earlier, I wouldn't have gotten this upgrade. I don't like games that ever do that. And there are some roguelike games that do that. And I guess, what's an example? Is it even Dead Cells, maybe? You add items to the pool of droppable items. So if you ever add an item you don't like, then the pool is diluted. I think Dead Cells might have added a way to fix this, but not all games do. So it's like, oh, I can get the rocket launcher now. And you're like, I don't like rocket launchers. So now there's a 1 out of 13 chance I get a rocket launcher and hate it. A skull is clearly a weapon. All right, well, what about the mushroom? Huh? Actually, wow, this is kind of coincidental that we happen to have a mushroom that looks kind of like mushy here because that's going to be the perfect item for them to get. Well, well, well. Yeah, this also allows us to use the item graphics, which is pretty nice. Also allows us to use more of the item graphics that were drawn, but that are already drawn. If you can't wear it or eat it, it's a weapon. Okay, so let's take a look. Candle, weapon. Clock, weapon. Weird green things, weapons. Feather, probably an armor item. Yeah. Potion of revival, a weapon if you throw it fast enough, according to Midge. Although it would immediately revive them after killing them. Okay, so then how about this? So I think steering toward there probably should be a way. So difference in keys, I don't think is the important question. So how do you influence which special items you get? So option one is via keys, probably their combinations somehow. Option two, oh, you know what? Actually, it could be like, yeah, anyway, option one is via keys. Option two is via the chest. You purchase a chest with a particular affinity. Option three is via the items themselves. You transmute the item into another item. All right, which one sounds like the best? I don't think you can judge it based on just what's written. I think you need to plan the systems a bit. So it's via keys. How would this work? Like maybe you can combine two keys into a guaranteed drop key, and whatever machine combines them lets you pick which adventurer you may want, or maybe a pool of adventurers, like 4 adventurers. So you can't always guarantee a single adventurer. It's kind of interesting. So you're kind of trading off some of the cost of making a key with the way of getting a specific item. Oh wait, no, that's not necessarily. You don't need to use any keys, right? Yeah, you don't need to use any keys. There could be a key re-roller. Maybe each key inherently has a chance to add an item for a certain adventurer. And you can re-roll keys. On the blueprint selection. Yeah, we could. You could purchase a chest with a particular affinity, or a chest could drop or could have you choose with. Nah, I don't think I like that actually. Yeah, I think I'd want you to choose beforehand. But actually, I kind of like this idea. Each key could have a chance to give a thing for a particular adventure. So it could be like regular key minus 1 minute and plus 10% chance for random adventurer item. So if you use 10 keys, you could have 10 different chances that are all 10%, and you end up rolling, 2 of them. So you get the warrior one and the rogue one. But maybe you can re-roll it, or maybe you can make them more powerful or guarantee more of a chance. So it could be like red key could be something like minus 1 minute and plus 50% chance for random pool of adventurers item, something like that. A key could go into the grinder and count as half of the value for a new key. That's interesting. So it would just be called the grinder, not the weapon grinder. or like item grinder. Yeah, item grinder. Maybe you do this by dropping it into the grinder again. But it takes 2 keys to do this. Okay, and then via the items themselves, let's put a little bit of thought in this one for right now. So like you get a rogue cloak and can drag it to. Actually, what if you dragged that to the grinder and it spat out a key that guaranteed an item from a different class? Okay, that is actually kind of interesting. There is a problem with this, which is that the cloak would be usable as soon as it's produced, meaning the rogue may take it before you can re-roll it. But the reason I think this is kind of interesting is because you have an item that is usable. You put it into the grinder and now it gives you a key that will give you a different item. So if you keep getting stuff you don't like, you can keep re-rolling it. And over a long enough timeline, I guess you'll, and when enough manual actions, you'll steer it toward the item you do want. So yeah, maybe it's like 500 gold for a random chest, like 750 gold for a chest that for a particular character. And then all keys that go in modify the drop rate for that one character. Okay, so we need to further predict player behavior to try to figure out what would they want to do. So the question becomes, will players want to boost like one specific adventurer or a whole party? I guess if level ups take varying amounts of items, then they'll probably want to do it like they do with Sludge right now, which is like a concept of a main party and a secondary party. So the way I generally see people play, more often than not, and this isn't always true, is yeah, they have a main party. Maybe they say that's like their rogue, their mage, their warrior, and a witch doctor or something. And then they'll try to keep them kind of the same level. So like maybe a couple of these are a little lower level, but they're not typically going to have like one of these be level 7 and the other be level 3. They won't have a gap of that much. So they'd probably do the same thing with these new items, where they'd be like, okay, I'm going to steer toward the rogue for a bit. Now I'm going to steer toward the warrior for a bit. Now let's just have it be random maybe or something, or go toward the mage. And then how much do we allow you to influence this? How much do we allow you to influence this? Because we could give you full control over this. We could just have a like choose an adventurer, and now you will only get those items. You only get like that adventurer's items. So this is 100% influence, as opposed to a like a fuzzier amount of influence where we say like maybe a 50% influence is like choose an adventurer, keys have a 50% chance to be for that adventurer. I mean, obviously the way this is written, this could just be X, right? X%. And it encapsulates even the 100% one up above. At a main and secondary into solo just to max out the number of battles. I think I'd want to focus on items just for the main party. Maybe also for the solo to see if they can farm faster. Yeah, so I think people will want to apply influence, and it's like, how much do we let them? Because we can choose what X is here. We choose X from 0 to 100. I mean, if it's 0, then we just don't even have you choose an adventure. But yeah, if we say there's a 50% chance you get something, I think that's interesting. It means that if you, what are those like stat circles? Is this a thing? Is this fine? What I'm trying to, yeah, something like this. So if you think about it in terms of instead of athletics and persuasion, whatever, these are all your adventurers. You'd have a spike toward one of them, and then the rest would all be pretty even. And now if you try to even that out by just, or sorry, picking a second adventurer, this spike would be a little shorter for that, and then all the other adventurers go up too. So I think it makes sense for X to be greater than 50. That's the polarized caps. Yes, the deception continent is on the slightly west side of it. Yeah, I think so. But I still haven't said how you influence it. I'm not leaning toward via the chest. I feel like then you're making the decision as soon as you purchase the chest. And how much randomness do we want in here too? Like, what if you found just totally random keys that were like plus 30% chance for one adventurer, plus 20% chance for another? I don't know. We should probably limit how many things you can have there. And as mentioned earlier, we have a chest graphic, and we could do this with all of them if we wanted to, that looks like it's got sort of 3 gems in it. We could have these be functional. Like you can only put 3 different kinds of keys in, or you can only have 3 different kinds of items come out. So once you do lock in a certain, oh, actually, that's another way I hadn't thought of. Maybe the keys randomly choose adventurers, and that, okay, this is actually really interesting. And then you choose which chests to invest in based on what the keys decided. All right, this is a little confusing probably the way I wrote it, but imagine like the first key chooses like rogue for the chest. You wanted that, so now you funnel keys into that chest to bump the chance higher and higher. And if you didn't want that, then you just wait. I don't know. Okay, maybe that's not a good idea. Hmm. Getting random keys. I never figured out how many chests you could have at once here. We have 2 slots, but I could just as easily add however many other ones we want. If I go into the treasure room and I just duplicate this and move this here. I'm not going to try to find nice aesthetic positions for these. We're just going to put them wherever they fit. All right, and one more right there, and another one right there. Okay, now when we run this, I think it should just work. I think it should pick them up. I see how depends on some skill of the warriors or day and night, like concussing and disorienting. Yeah, those are balance problems though. Those need to be solved in a different way. Yeah, so imagine you had this many treasure chests, and imagine their times are not 90 seconds. Imagine they're like, let's say like 5 minutes to, let's do gd.rand range. 5 minutes to 10 minutes. Yeah. So sometimes the warrior ahead of the others. Yeah. I do think you should be able to influence this somehow. Okay, so let's say you did something like this. Although I think you'd want to know at a glance what is each chest doing, so you don't need to hover over them to see. Like, is this the rogue one? Oh, it's not. Is this one? Is this one? So maybe that's a reason why picking the chest should matter. If we just add in a bunch of keys now. Add worker. They'll go open them all. Yeehaw. That looks so cool. That was not enough. Yeah, this is super cool. I should have made that change earlier. All right, let's have him finish them off. Oh, that wasn't enough keys. But that's where the speed up button comes in. And adding some of these and adding some of these. Yeah, nice. We don't have the money. We have the money now. All right, cool. So all these are pretty much open. Now we open them up. We get some items. They're going to pop out of the portal. But these are the ones that would power up your characters. And then they'll put the new chests up here very slowly. Okay. So that is something I hadn't realized here. If we change the items inside a chest via the keys, it'd probably be difficult to tell which chest you want to open. You'd wonder which is the rogue chest. Although even if it's when you pick it, you'd probably still wonder that. And that might be a reason to lean toward this. The items you get out, then you can just see them. You can see that you have... Where'd they go? Oh, they got ground up. Okay, let's not grind it up. Yeah, there. So you'd be able to see this is the thing that I got and I don't want it. So I'm going to drag it into some like weapon grinder or something like that. There's no random, yeah, no bug happening there. Although it giving you a special key, I guess, if you put it in here, would put us back in the original problem where you need to know which chest is which. Grinder, special key. Okay, yeah. So I don't totally know. I do like the idea of keys differentiating themselves somehow. We don't have so many, though. We could palette swap them at some point. I think designing a key for each character would be kind of nuts. So it could just be like red ones for the damage classes, the teal one for the tank classes, and then one of these other ones for all the other classes. But then is the time thing still interesting? What's the simplest system to go forward with here? Because the other thing that would happen here is you may have a very long list of mods from a chest if you do this. Like imagine that it says like plus 27% chance to find one rogue item, 31% chance to find 2 witch doctor items, and so on and so forth. Yeah, most of the time you can't even grab keys before workers can get them. Can't really grab keys before workers can get them. So maybe it is still this after all this time. Yeah. Oh, alternatively, I hadn't thought of this. Okay, this is kind of interesting. Option 4, via the treasure chest display, there would be 10 displays, one for each character. You choose, you may always buy a chest for the rogue display and then put all of your keys toward that. I need to put some more thought into this. So if you can influence the type of item you get by buying a different chest, then the keys are probably less interesting. They could still modify the chance and amounts. Oh, maybe that's where this comes in. So it could be like red key plus X% chance for the one item type this can drop. The blue key could be plus Y amount of the item that this can drop. And a green key could be like plus, I guess you don't need to write this, plus X% chance to drop another item of the same, how do I say this? No, we just say like add another item type that has the same X% chance to get Y items. Okay, now that is more interesting. So you're getting a certain kind of chest. You're picking which class it would be for. I guess you'd change the podium itself maybe. And then anytime you click buy, you're just getting that kind of chest. And then you modify the chances and the amount of items inside. I think the problem is the choosing which kind of item you're going to get is maybe a little bit too complex for a game like this. And probably funneling all the no. Okay, so the power-up items work like experience points in that it takes more than one to get any benefit. And that number increases as you get the benefits. E.g., 5 cloaks, first bonus, 15 cloaks, second bonus. Rationale behind this is if it's a flat bonus every time, then it's going to feel like it drops off pretty quickly. The only way to compensate would be to keep giving you more and more of the items. Also, is it a problem that you're going to have to stop auto battling? That you'll have to stop auto battling to get your adventurers to pick up their items? Probably have to be their top priority. Yeah, I like this idea. I think you would set the item type from the chest display. And then the buy button could just keep buying that type. Hey Zico, been looking for a while. Just want to say that I finally started learning Godot and I've begun to create a game. Nothing serious, but thank you for sharing the whole process. Even though I can't be here all the time, I love to see how Skeleseller is doing. It's good to hear. I hope you enjoy game dev with Godot. I think it's fun. I think there is a lot to learn at first. And with any engine, there are going to be quirks with it that you feel like you are wrestling with rather than working with. And yeah, Godot has some of those too. So I kind of like this idea. Let's open up all these chests. So here's what I'm thinking it would be. You'd have some way of choosing what kind of chest is going to go into this slot. So maybe pick rogue for this one. And then there will be a buy button. You buy it and it puts a rogue chest here, which is basically when you hover over, you'll see like 100% chance to drop one rogue item or something like that, 10% chance to drop a rogue item. And now you can start funneling keys into it to make it go faster and to bump up the chances of those things. but the keys are only going to modify what was already in the chest. This chance for one item to drop. So I guess you'd end up with a chest that might have like, you may end up with a chest that says 10% chance for like 12 items to drop. It's probably not fun. Maybe the chance starts at 75% and or like 50% and goes up by 10% at a time. So 5 red keys would guarantee the drops. Yeah, I think it'd be pretty bad to get nothing from this. Maybe we do need to change key production. Or maybe you are just changing the amount of items that can be dropped from it. This would also help for when you can automatically purchase stuff. Like maybe you're setting an adventurer portrait for the chest. And you can just see at a glance which thing you're going to be getting. All right, yeah, I need to do some more design on this stuff. Keys, check contents of this. If it drops for an adventure you don't have, can you sell these items to drop? Is progression done in increments of 1? Yeah. Is there a problem with the player focusing on one kind of adventure? No, you can already do this with leveling up via sludge. The problem is to stop auto battling. Plus life potion be a general item. Yeah, so these are the main problems we have to solve. How do you influence this still? And are there different keys? And if there are different keys, how do you change that? I guess this is an answer to how you influence this. You just pick a character at the beginning of this. And then you'll find it'll start with that. I think we just need to play out some scenarios with this. So where I left off is this will work, but I think we need to simulate what this would look like from the player perspective. And then we would need to figure out keys. Keys may not make total sense the way that they're planned. Should you get them through some other means? All right. Well, it's pretty much lunchtime right now. I've been streaming for 3 hours and 31 minutes, and I took one break. I'm glad I went through this process. I feel like my game design has generally been like, okay, let's try to solve some problems. You never totally get it right on the first try. And then something doesn't sit well with me, and it's really hard to identify what exactly. But usually my gut feeling that something isn't going to work tends to be correct. Although I guess once I feel confident enough in something, I think I've been getting better at game design. I think it just takes me a very long time still. Like we've spent hours on just this system, which is worthwhile because players are going to spend hours with this system. So I want to make sure it's as fun and as self-explanatory as possible. And we are running the risk of there being a little bit too much complexity here, which we can simplify a bit for the player. Like if I just had a buy button here, I guess you could click this and say, do you want to buy a chest for this? Then you need to be able to highlight the item display. We could make a custom dialogue for that. Sort of like how we have the hire adventurer dialogue. Yeah. In fact, it could look pretty much like this. It could be a list of all the adventurers you have, and it could say choose. Oh man, that's perfect actually. I didn't think about that. Okay, so we overwrite this with choose which adventurer's item do you want to find? So do that. And then this would say buy chest 500G. And this would be treasure spirit. Oh, you can't do that? Oh, what we can do is we can just put a rectangle over this and then fill this in and then move this thing. There. Let's paste that in GIMP so that it's in positive color as well. Yeah, that could work. We have the dialogue pretty much already set. We change the tooltip, of course. Or we show in the tooltip which item you would be getting. So you could click an item display. You could click an item display and see a dialogue for purchasing a chest and setting the item that you'll get. Is it strange that you're purchasing a chest that you know contains a certain item? Probably need to explain this. All right, yeah, I got to take a break. I'm going to go take lunch and I'll be back in about an hour. And then I think we're just going to do more game design stuff. I probably won't launch anything for playtesters today because we've already designed enough different stuff where we're going to have to code all of this. I am a bit wary of how long we have left to work on challenge mode stuff in July. But look, this is what it's been taking. So this is what we have to do. So I shall not dilly-dally any longer. Thank you all for watching. I'll be back in about an hour. Hope to see you again. Goodbye.